phone. But then they said we like it sooner than later, so. Now.
Couple minutes, yeah, wait for people to trickle in
Yeah,
here.
so. But I was like, so sad, I probably said that people yesterday, I don't stand. So I couldn't send them, I said, can't send them. But I said, we didn't have to do that.
Popular place.
Yeah, but I couldn't, I need to.
The first one after prayer always is.
Smile. Anyway, this is. But Sanders had brought her here, so she sent it to her. So tomorrow I'll talk to her Sunday about that. I usually have a copy of it, but I'll just delete it. Not exactly. But I was like, use like. That's what we'll use.
That's our usual kind of wait for the weekends for the actual weekend.
I want to make sure I was doing it right.
Yes.
And I just like it was.
So we can. I'm sitting for this video. Yeah, I think.
All right, it is 5 o'clock. We're gonna call our August 13th work session to order. Al, take it away.
Hey, first one. Start the events calendar in the packet was the one from last month, but we did update it today. There's a couple of additions. We had big camping event last weekend. I don't know how many it was total, but the parking lots were packed. And then we had a couple of weddings that were scheduled in the building that ended up canceling, but then Whitecap came to us and said, hey, can we rent your kitchen? Then, well, there's nothing happening this weekend, so
Yeah.
why not? Let's do that. So he had an event. He said he had like 1,500 appetizers that he had to make. Like,
I was at that wedding.
That's a lot of appetizers.
Yeah.
So that went well. We got the hair pale coming next weekend. Not this next weekend, the following weekend. So that was something that wasn't on the calendar before. This upcoming weekend, there's 3 different fishing tournaments that are all happening, so it's gonna be pretty busy. The Army is gonna come and do that exercise again in September. And then there's the potential for a couple more of those Hispanic dances as well. We may do another rodeo, we may just do a dance in here. There's still a lot happening. Do you have any questions?
How are we advertising for the bull riding?
So they sent us the flyer last Friday. We posted the flyer on our social media and they have a video, but the video is all in Spanish. We can share that video as well. But that's really all we've gotten from them is the flyer. So we can share that a couple times over the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, it'd be good to do that for sure.
Is there anything printable that we can put in businesses?
Yeah. I mean, I know that they're doing that for their event, you know, it's a local guy that's doing it.
I
As far
still
as us
think-
driving around, it would be unusual for us to go around and hang flyers for a
Yeah,
particular event.
they're running the event, right? They're
Right,
renting the
the
facility
facility.
and they're running the event. So it's not something that we are gonna be doing. We wouldn't do that for
Okay.
like DU and stuff. We wouldn't
Right.
be doing that. So I understand that part of it. So, okay.
Yeah,
And then I just had a question about, so the big groups that come in and camp, how does that work out? Do they pay individually or do they just rent the whole thing as a group and just get a flat rate?
so with the soccer group, they are dealing with all the registration because it's so many people.
Yeah.
It's like over 100 campers. They do all the registration themselves and then they give us the $35 per day per camper.
Okay.
Plus the lodging fee. The other group, the wind group, that was a smaller group. There was like a dozen. We just treated them like individual campers. And it's first come, first serve.
Yeah.
Basically, and that's the case for all of them. If there's power and water available for you, hook up, but if there isn't, then it's dry camping.
Okay, thank you.
I think that would be something that would be ideal to come up with a little bit more of a guideline for, like, at what point is it an event versus just individual camping? Because once you get to a certain point, they need additional services, they need additional trash, they need
Yeah.
additional restrooms, they need potentially security or something. We didn't have an issue with fires this year. I don't know if the weather was a little bit more milder, that people didn't want fires, or if just everybody knows that everything's on fire and to
Yeah.
not do that. I don't know. So didn't hear any of those complaints. Okay. Rolling calendar is the same calendar as last month. Basically, the only thing we have on here is the debrief and the convention plans. But like I put in our update, and I think I put it on the agenda. You know, the next steps really for me, working forward on MOU, getting a project done, strategic plan, land use, updating the contracts, looking at a rate study. And then one of the ones we started before the fair was looking into an email marketing platform. That's a project we'd really like to get off. That could be really valuable for us to get more advertising out there. Something for like even this Mexican rodeo comes in. If we had that in place, we could just send out a blast, say, hey, did you know this weekend there's this event? Like, we got to get people signed up for those.
Yeah, because with the company that we use for all of our ticketing stuff, everybody that bought online, we gathered, like, we got that information,
Yeah.
right? The emails and names and everything like that.
From
So we
those,
could
yeah,
send stuff out to them, right?
right. Now we start building an inventory of those names. So, you know, you have a dozen events and you'll get some duplicates, but you add a few each time.
Yeah.
I think emails are hit or miss. Like I hate emails. Me too. I dump them. And the minute they come in my email, my work email, I dump them. Yeah, so
And I think that's what
hit or
it
miss.
is, to make sure that we're doing valuable emails and we're not dumping people with stuff they don't want to see.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
definitely get a ton of emails, and I know some of them I don't want to look at them every time.
Yeah.
But
I also think we should do a survey on marketing. Like I've said, I wanted to talk to, or somebody to talk to the Scandinavian Fest Committee. They've run a survey on what's been the best for marketing for them, and I think we should do the same and see what the best reach we have has been.
yeah, and as we get through the end of this, I have a stack of some surveys.
I've looked, yes.
And that is one of the questions too, was how did you hear about us? And what does it say exactly?
In which one?
The general public survey.
Well, I think we just should do a marketing survey. What do you like? Is it visual? What grabbed your attention? Roadside signs, blah, blah, blah. I think that's what the Scandinavian Festival did, and they've had high success with that survey they did.
Yeah, how did you hear about the Clatsop County Fair? That was the question. But yeah, we can work on any service. So those items that I mentioned, we'll get them here on the calendar as we can start coming up with a work plan to get those things knocked out. The convention is probably one of the biggest things to be aware of. It's the October 17th, 18th, and 19th.
And if you guys can swing it, I thought it was gonna be really boring, to be honest with you. I really didn't think it was gonna be kind of useless to go, but I wanted to go just to do it, see what it was like, and it was very beneficial. I feel like, I know that all the fair staff they gleaned a lot of information from it, so good.
All right, the next item is the roof project. We did an RFP for the roof. We got 4 proposals back. I gave you guys with the breakdown of how they scored. So we had Scott Edwards Architecture, RDH, CERTA, and Lower Columbia Engineering. And looking at their proposals, which they're all here if you guys want to go through it, it's quite a lot. Any one of these firms would be a great firm to do the project. I think they'd be really, they would give us a good product on either way. I think the two firms were definitely cost prohibitive. They were very expensive on what their bids were.
Do we have a copy? Do we get to see the copy of the bids?
I can give you a copy of them. They're proposals, they're not necessarily bids.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I think that as a whole, any proposals or any contracts or any such thing that comes through for the county fairgrounds or fair, we should immediately, as fair board members, be sent those.
To say, it's not typical for,
But if you read the Oregon statute, we are responsible for the fairgrounds and the fair, and we need to be doing our due diligence as well.
sure, and, you know, the scoring, having someone on the scoring committee to look at the criteria scoring was definitely would be helpful. I think the two of them were definitely, they were trying to go a little overkill on what we needed, like they were investing a lot more into. They were trying to put a lot higher level of effort into what we needed
Yeah,
versus what, you know, we just need somebody to assess this and tell us the right repair and go forward, not somebody to. You know, it's not a massive compound that's got dozens of buildings and,
yeah.
you know, going through every single piece. So yeah, looking at them and scoring them. The scores came out with Serta as the highest score. So based off of approach and cost, it's kind of the key ones that drove the decision, but I think any of these firms would do a great job. And, you know, we can take more time if you guys want to look at it more. We're just on a time crunch.
Yeah, go ahead.
Spend
You can move on.
brand fee.
Yeah, when is that? When is that?
We're supposed to have the money spent by the end of this fiscal year, so June 2025.
Oh,
And so we have a pretty aggressive schedule to meet that as is. But that being said, I'm pretty confident that they'll give us an extension, knowing that our project's moving along. That's pretty standard.
Yeah, yeah.
But they want to know that we're making progress.
yeah, we need to have something in place and moving forward for sure.
Yeah, and this is just for the assessment and building the bid documents. This isn't for the contractor that's actually going to do the repairs.
Yeah,
So they range from, and they're just proposals. They're not the contract prices, like between 23,000 and 80,000 for where they were at for what they were anticipating.
Yeah.
With, you know, the limited information they were provided in the request for proposal. What we'd be looking for in the regular meeting is an intent to award for Serta to move forward, and then we can start working on the contract and getting the project kicked off.
So you're asking us to do that this meeting or next meeting?
This meeting. But we can postpone it as well, just trying to get the
Well,
project.
I just think we need to all look at it really quick and then you guys want to go forward.
yeah, I mean, we've got 45 minutes, so we can take a peek through those real quick and I can feel confident that we can make that decision based off that information.
You know, I'm pretty happy with the fact that we got 4 proposals.
Yeah.
And we had something to compare and look at.
So what was I mean, the numbers can say what they want, but what was your reasoning?
Yeah, so,
specifically?
you know, it definitely felt like Scott Edwards was probably the most qualified, but I just felt like their approach, they were really trying to go a little overboard on what we needed. And then their cost was pretty high. RDH, the same thing, really basically the same conversation between Scott Edwards and RDH. It would have been hard to make a decision between the two of them.
Yeah,
Serta, I think, you know, looking at how they were planning to approach the project with, you know, a kickoff meeting, coming on site, evaluating it. And just kind of keeping it simpler was one of the things that was where I scored them better with how they were approaching the project. You know, not necessarily building a massive team to do an assessment on the project.
Yeah.
just Sending experts out. They have a certified building envelope inspector on their team, which is essentially what we need.
Yeah.
And then their cost estimate was ideal. In Lower Columbia, I've worked with them a little bit before, so I have a little bit past experience working with them. I think they could have done the project, but I felt like Serta was a little bit above. I felt like they were a little bit more gauged towards being able to handle the project. Which was something that I was considering as I was reading it, especially with the first two that had the higher number was, you know, it is a tight time schedule. So some of that cost may be in them trying to tackle the project quickly.
Yeah.
But the other team had said they could do it for the same with much lower cost.
Where is Serta out of?
I think it was part of Portland. They're all based in the Pacific Northwest.
Oh, okay, that's what we were wondering. Okay, that's not that. It's cute.
Oh, wow.
And, yeah.
Yeah.
But also the scoring that they did with the references and everything.
Yeah.
This is the bid. Forgot there was that many people here. I get it. I like to read, I'll let Courtney said hi. Hi, Courtney.
That was when she first logged in.
Oh,
At
okay.
4:50.
4:52. Oh, well.
She said she was just getting home. She's gonna listen in.
Yeah, well, I think for me personally, I think the difference of $63,000 just to assess the roof
Yeah.
is kind of a no-brainer,
Mhm.
right? I mean,
Yeah, me too.
it has to be done. We have to do it. So we have to spend the money to do it, and I'd rather not spend that much more to do the
Yeah.
same job, so.
And just to be clear, those prices aren't what the final amount.
Yeah,
Those
exactly.
are
It's
estimates
an
based
estimate.
off of what the level of effort they think it's going to be. We'll have to dial in exactly what it's gonna be after we go through the intent to award and negotiate the contract. Okay, great, we can move on to the bear debrief. I just kind of laid this out. I mean, it's still really early after the fair. I mean, there's still so much more for us to get as far as clearing invoices and making sure everybody's been paid and receiving incomes and reports from folks to be able to put all that together. So I just kind of laid it out as like a setup or pretty fair. And then kind of looking at the fair each day and then talking about cleanup and then trying to engage in these surveys to try to get some feedback from people and then come back next month and talk about the feedback. So I don't know if you all want to take the lead on talking about the dates, or if you want me to talk about my piece and we just go kind of one by one.
Yeah, I think we'll just go day by day and
Mhm.
we just chime in as we see fit.
Setup, it started early, right? It starts at pen setup day. I think we had the steps ready for them. They had a good team in here and it got knocked out pretty early. The barn up above, I think was nice having the horse stalls out.
Yeah, it made a big
Yeah,
difference.
we discovered quickly that there wasn't enough cages, so. They bought more panels and we helped them cut those and get those all set up for the more turkey cages. Midweek or so of the week before fair, Nathaniel got out and started cutting. We got that all done. He got the campground done first and then got the parking lot done. think over the weekend, so we basically had Monday to lay out the parking. What else do we have? I mean, it rained all day on Monday, so that added a little bit extra to the setup that you could have gone a little cleaner and easier than it was. Kelly ended up being out Friday and for the full weekend, so that was a little unexpected as we were going into setup weekend.
Yeah.
So we were running a little shorthanded getting set up, but I think we made it in time, but there was definitely still stuff we were working on as the fair started. We were still laying out parking, still laying out cans and you know, still trying to deal with all of the other stuff, having all of those people here, you know, the bathrooms on Monday. And just, you know, everything and everybody here while we were trying to set up. And we didn't really have the resources here to manage all the people that day. So that's something to learn on and getting some folks here for cleaning
So I have
the
a
day out.
question on that. How come teams didn't start on Monday?
We didn't contract for them to be here on
Why?
Monday. Well, it just
Is it fair?
they did it. They did fair and start. So
I know, but for cleanup, I mean, because it was pretty dirty. I mean, Callie and I spent the whole hour meeting of them cleaning the bathrooms,
Yeah.
emptying the garbages.
Done all the way.
I mean, we couldn't even do it all, but we spent the whole hour cleaning the bathrooms because they were so filthy, I wouldn't even
Yeah.
use a toilet.
So, you know, that's definitely something that we can include on this year's schedule for teams folks to be here.
How many teams people did we end up having?
So every day we had a male and a female for janitorial.
I thought that last year we had decided we wanted to increase the budget there to have more people on staff during the week of fair, because last year we didn't have enough.
We did have additional like the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, but we had the two per day, we had three, we had two working on janitorial and we had one working on parking all day. So yeah, those are things that we can increase. We definitely had more teams folks here this year than we did last year.
Mhm.
I know that lady cleaned the bathroom a lot last year, though.
Yeah.
She was.
And with the teams, I think that we need to evaluate that because there was a gentleman that was trying to help with the concert and he did more standing around smoking
Yeah,
than he did working, so it wasn't cost effective for us to have that.
I gave the
He was not
teams
good.
folks an assessment of
Okay.
each one of the people that worked there and told them, you know, the ones that were doing good.
There were some that were awesome and then that gentleman should not have been there.
Yeah, there were definitely some struggles, like just with them showing up, like I get a call and say they're here. And I'm like, okay, where are they? And I'm like looking all over for them, trying to find, like spending 40 minutes just trying to find these people. And then when they show up, they don't speak English, so then I have to find the one of them that can translate for me to the other one. And that's like a recurring thing throughout the day, like, okay, I found that one, but now I have to go find the other one so that I can bring them over here and translate to this other person for me.
Yeah.
So there was some discussion with a suggestion maybe from the person at Teams, either designating one of those individuals as kind of like a site leader or bringing an additional person as like a site leader that can keep tabs on them and make sure that they're staying on task. Because I spent a ton of time trying to find them. I didn't even know who I was looking for until I found them in most cases. And it's different people every day. So it's not
Yeah.
like, there were some consistent.
I would
people
say
that
there
were here
was
every day.
Lady in
few
the
that's
bathroom.
But then there was also a lot of different turnover folks.
Oh,
We just really struggled
really
this
good.
year. The ladies' bathroom never had soap and she kept putting out a hand soap, little tiny one pumper that people were filling up with water because she didn't know how to get the foam open. And I mean, it was bad. Bathrooms overflow, or the garbage is overflowing.
Bathrooms just need to be
It was bad.
like pressure washed, period.
I am the person that washes my hands 80 times. If I touch anything, I'm washing my hands, and I know that sounds weird because I farm, but I'd rather touch my pigs than touch other human stuff, so.
And well, this is probably the third event now where, that hanging soap machines.
They don't work well.
I think
At all.
those foam things need to go away. and just
Well,
have
we were
regular-
looking at them and they won't even empty all the
Yeah,
way in
they were
there.
half full when she
So,
opened it up.
Yeah,
And they weren't coming out.
Look at it either a different product or.
something,
different-
but something needs to be done.
Yeah.
And going back to the teams too, is that they need to realize when they get here, like, I don't. What their job description is and their break description.
Yeah.
They're here for an hour, they wanna take a break. I'm like, legally, you know, it's 4 hours and 1 minute for 10-minute break and stuff. And then they thought they were provided food, which they weren't because they were here working. So I think that they need to be, there needs to be an outline when they get hired, that this is what we expect.
Yeah.
And these are your breaks.
Yeah.
Another thing that with that, can we please see the contract with them? I wanna see what was outlined in it and you know, I wanna see it. Just plain and simple. I think we all should look at it. Please.
So the contract is negotiated by HR.
Mhm.
Basically, we give them a schedule, says we need these positions filled for these times. But I wasn't able to negotiate that contract directly because it's the union part, like the union has to be tracking how much temporary, they want to know how much.
As the
temporary-
fair board, can we request
Yeah,
that from
we
the
can see
county?
it. Yeah,
Okay.
we have it.
Okay. That would be
As
great.
far as the actual process for acquiring that particular contract, it's the only one that that I don't handle. It's because they want HR to be in it so that they're.
That makes sense.
And they go through negotiations they have now, they like explaining why we're hiring temporary people and we have all this other
Yeah.
negotiation and represented staff. You know, you could definitely tell early on in setup that tensions were high, but it felt like once everybody's animals got here and got weighed in, then I started seeing smiles on people's faces and people seemed like they were starting to have better time. But definitely the first 2 weeks, there was definitely a lot of,
Yeah, it's always tough
Building
getting everything
pressure.
set up and getting ready to roll. Everybody's stressed out, trying to get their animals here and projects done and stuff, so.
you know, we laid out parking on Monday and then we had to retool it on Tuesday and then we had to adjust a little bit more on Wednesday. So we spent a little bit of time each morning before the fair started, trying to adjust our parking situation. So getting a great plan on what our parking layout needs to be. I mean, that's gonna be something that we get that set up. I mean, that could be set up 2 weeks in advance.
Yeah.
That's something we need to be working on Monday and Tuesday of the fair. So that was an observation.
Kyle, can you see Tony? My mom?
He's saying that it's glitching. He can only hear, it keeps pausing, and I don't see him up there.
Either.
He's here as a
Okay.
attendee.
Oh, okay,
Okay,
there he is. Okay.
perfect. Perfect.
As far as setup goes, I think that, I think it was a great idea to try having those people over there across the bridge. But I think in the future, we just need to have everything up here just to make sure that we're filling up the space that we have up here, keeping everybody kind of concentrated together. You know, this whole run over here, I know we had people drop off and stuff, but that's just something I think in the future that we need to adjust to and stuff. So moving everybody up here would be essential to make sure happens for next year for sure.
And I think too, with one of the face paint, and I told you guys, she was in a wheelchair, so she really was not able to move around down there with her booth there, and that was her concern too, is that she wasn't mobile down there, so that's something that we need to consider next year.
Yeah.
Is that something that we have, do on our vendor applications? Do we ask if they need handicap accesses?
I don't know if there's an accessibility question on there, but
We probably
I think we should.
yeah, we can. That particular vendor didn't go through the vendor stuff. They were kind of part of
With
that
the-
whole, nonprofit.
Yep.
Activities thing,
Yeah.
like we basically just allowed her to come and participate. So she seemed to be very happy. I think they did really well. They got a lot of exposure. She said she's definitely going to be a paid vendor and will sign up through.
She was happy with her business, is just she wasn't very mobile and stuff. One thing I can suggest though, if we do that, is that depending on who was running the games, depending on the cost and how many balls you had to get in the water, and so you have kids come and they do half the day, they only have to get one in, the next time they're like, you have to get all And you're like, what do you mean? I mean, they changed the rules.
Standard.
It was just, they need to be the same standards because you had some kids down there that were not happy. Like, well, last time I only had to get one and I won a prize. Now I gotta get all five and have to win a prize. So that was something that I noticed that,
That was definitely, like you said, it did depend on who it was, and it
Yes.
was a little touchy, you know, Jeannie really did a lot to help. You know, kind of get the fire started with those groups, but she definitely didn't want to be involved in it on the day-to-day basis.
Yeah.
And so. You know, doing that again, I don't know, those groups would want to participate in it again, but I could tell the difference based off the conversations that I had with them too, on how well they did, depending on how much effort they put into it.
I do believe if they had been up here, you know, for a lot of the parents that were in the barn with kids, having it up here so the kids could go out and you felt comfortable with that, they probably would have seen a lot more.
Yeah.
We didn't have. I disagree. I think it should be up top because I think it would be easier for parents that have youngers that want to go play. It'd be more exposure for them, and keeping it all in one area, I think, is a very good idea.
I think, you know, especially as we start talking about next year's fair, which we should start early. We kind of think about our budget and what particular large activities we want, where we want them to be, and then we can work on filling those spots. You know, really, it felt like this year we acquired these activities and then decided where they would go, instead of saying, we want this particular type of activity here, and then finding those activities to go into that spot. Would help shape everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I recognize like we had a lot of the space open and granted we had people pull out, but with those contracts that we have, is there anything like talking about if they cancel or they decide they can't make it or anything like that?
It's, they forfeit their $200 fee. That's really, and it's, if they, and I don't know the dates, I don't have it memorized, but it's within so much time. Like if they do it before a certain date, I think they get 50% back. If they do it after a certain date.
The ones that did wind up canceling, did they have contracts in place?
They did, yeah, everybody had a contract.
Can we get copies of all the contracts from the vendors or the applications?
Yeah,
or
we can get you guys a login for Eventany and all.
that would be
there.
perfect.
I think this year the concert was the best setup we've ever had. I think it's because we did have the teams. We had a few of the teams that helped. It was nice. Even Paige said from Romeo, she's like, oh my gosh, the VIP, you know, for the artist, the tent set up for the food. I mean, she was amazed because the year before that, we were waiting on that to get done.
Yeah.
So I think that went very well.
Yeah.
Was the setup.
I took a lot of photos more of that area, like looking back at all of the photos that we have. Like, there's no photos of that tent in the VIP area and how all that's set up. There's lots of photos of like the stage and the other side of the concert, but there's not really much like how that was set up back there. I think something that occurred to me after everything said, those porta potties don't necessarily need to be there. They could be behind the tent, like behind the beer tent, or along the fence or something, and they're not gonna block people's views. I think we had more toilets reserved this year that were meant for that area, but only so many of them made it over there because the area was so tight. But I know that was one of the main feedbacks that we had from the sponsors was more for the restrooms, and we got more of them. They just didn't.
They weren't there. I really liked though, the fencing that we had.
The
Whatever,
barricade.
the barricade, I think that's something that we need to rent every year. It looks a lot better than our green panels.
Yeah.
It looks a lot nicer. It doesn't block the view. One thing that I was really glad that Joe insisted on was that we had handicapped. It's the first
Yeah.
time we've ever sectioned off handicapped, and we did have someone in wheelchair that could get up to the front stage in
Okay.
preferred seating. And she actually was able, because she bought enough merch, to go back and meet him.
Nice.
But I definitely think that is something that needs to be done every single year. We need to have a section for the handicap.
Felt like that was something on our side that we were trying to be very aware about the entire time, was the above and beyond for the accessibility. It's not just meeting the minimums. It was how could we do the best with what bad situation we have here?
Yeah.
I mean, we really have a bad situation for accessibility.
Um,
It's hard to address, but we did a lot. We had the people mover going, we had the extra spots up here, we had the extra spots over there, and we had the school district bus going, but really, the first 3 days of the fair, they maybe hauled one or two people. But then on Friday and Saturday, they did move quite a few people.
One thing also talking to the sheriff's department, they will not do a meet and greet like that ever again.
Yeah.
And I don't want to ever do one like that again. So we need to put that in our radar with Paige and Romeo that doing that was not feasible. I mean, and here the officers are standing there, they're getting a call because there's a 202 wreck and they can't even leave and they are like stressed out because Joe's in his trailer and won't come out to do the meet and greet. And they are like, they were on edge. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
Chance just went about and drug him out of his trailer. Because it was so, that is something that needs to be discussed, that we will not do a meet and greet like that ever again. 'Cause they wanted to leave for that call and they couldn't,
Yeah.
they were stuck there and they were just like, especially with all the accidents we have had. Yeah. They were very upset about that.
Yeah. Yeah, as far as the concert setup and stuff goes, it was by far the best that we've had since I had been helping with it.
Mhm.
Just getting everything done early, getting the teams guys up. There's one teams guy, I can't remember his name, he had the grill.
Yes, the gold teeth, he was awesome.
Juan,
Juan.
he was awesome. Yeah, I would
Juan
love
was
to have him back for sure. I know it's not guaranteed, but
Yeah, he keeps texting me, asking if we have more work. It's like, no. we don't
He's
have
great.
any more
yeah,
work.
He was great and he asked questions and he always wanted to be busy.
yeah,
He wanted to be busy.
yeah.
There were a couple, and I gave her a detailed report on each one of them.
Yeah.
And, there's probably 3 of them that did really well. The gal that was doing the restrooms actually did really well, but the first 2 days, she didn't get the full message on everything that we had expected to, because like I told the one guy, but he didn't tell her because I couldn't tell her. He didn't understand what I was saying.
Yeah.
Like, she didn't even know the tables out here needed to be cleaned.
They weren't clean the whole fair.
Yeah.
None of the tables were.
What else was I thinking? Oh, and then, yeah, one day, like, one of them shows up with another lady that can't speak, neither one of them can speak English, and I'm walking them around and find out that they weren't assigned to janitorial, they were here for stagehand work,
Yeah,
and one of them wasn't even an
She was an
employee, she
employee,
was
she
just
was
here
paying her
with
to
the
hang.
girl. And so I'm like talking to her. So,
yeah,
yeah,
stuff.
there's a lot going on behind the scenes dealing with all of these different pieces that we need. It takes a lot of time.
I think that one thing too, going back to the concert, I know that the lines were very long in VIP and I heard back like Ronnie Williams had to jump behind the bar and pour some beer. He was very upset about that because we're losing on that. Saturdays,
Which was a big thing for us to go with them because they said they wouldn't have that.
yes, and there was lines, so that needs to be fixed. Moving to Saturday, the concert, I know it wasn't very well advertised, but that was one of the neatest things to see is all those families out there with kids running around, they're dancing. I think that if there would have been more advertising, I think that that concert, it's something that we need to grow on with doing that.
I think we advertised it just like we did the other concert. I mean, it's just,
yeah. So it's me and April actually we have a connection with our church. A church family was up there and we talked to them. And she said then, we'll see if that follows through, but she said that she'd be willing to jump on that committee.
Yeah.
And help advertise for that specific people group, right? Because they just have a different culture than us. It was obvious you go up to that concert, it was a totally different
Total different.
scenario.
yeah.
They were there just hanging out with family, playing with their kids, dancing, and there wasn't hardly one person at either bar ever.
Ever.
And so it was totally different vibe, totally different feel. And I think reaching those people is going to be in a totally different way than for our regular country music concert. So I think getting the right people involved with that is gonna be key to that. Just to help us, because I don't know.
Yeah.
I think we need more time too. I think we pushed the timeline on our marketing timeframe
It
again.
need to be
Yeah,
Yeah,
by
so,
February. We
yeah,
need to be. And also, we don't need that bar, the VIP bar still set up for that concert. That was a waste of,
I think they just left it there.
Yeah.
There
wasn't
really,
anyone
the
over
big
there?
Thing was moving all of the
Okay.
product over.
Yeah,
okay.
they kept somebody over there just because it was easier to keep somebody over there than to move it all.
Okay.
Yeah, so that wasn't something.
There was some discussion about what to do, but we didn't really have the manpower to help them move, and it was quite a bit of time for them to do that. Yeah, I know. They had the same questions about how do we target that, like the radio station or whichever. you know, it's tough to know. I know
Yeah.
Cornelio, who doing these fair payos for us, also with us. I know he took flyers way early on, but it was, you know, 8 to 10 weeks prior, which is really too early for establishments to want to have flyers. When I
Yeah.
was taking flyers out, asking for permission to hang, they said, well, when is it? I said, well, it's in 3 weeks. Like, come back next week. It's a lot of
Yeah.
them. We're saying, we don't want your flyers up for 8 to 10 weeks. They want to be able to have them up.
I had mine up at Team Brothers for months. I
Yeah.
seen Dairy Queen. They were-
Hey, you know,
Yeah, a couple weeks is,
it's definitely like a launch kickoff push and then another hard push into that. Few weeks before figuring out where those spots are, it's actually going to get in front of people and see if you're gonna go. But getting in the canopies, getting in the hotels, I think is a big one. And
I think Norma Hernandez would be a big help. She would be able to advertise. For the sale of the spaniel, those people, she's the deputy of that.
Very-
One thing too, because I just was looking at my notes, is the tables, I know. When we were cleaning up the bathrooms out in the eating area, Kelly and I were just wiping them down because they were so dirty and they were collapsing. They were broken and we had, so we really, before we put out the tables, need to make sure that they're stable, because just with us wiping, they were collapsing. And I can't imagine if somebody were to sit and try to eat, they would have.
It did
Yeah,
happen.
it did
I
happen.
had
Yeah,
a
that's
report
right.
of it.
So we need to really watch
We do
that.
need to do a big, like a sort on all of our tables and kind of grade them like A, B, and C quality tables. I think some of what's happened is like an issue with one table happens, so then an event will be like, all these tables, and then they'll go and they'll tape them all up. And then when they go to wrap up the event, they just go and they try to slam the legs, go with the tape on there, and then if they were kind of messed up, they get really messed up, and then someone tries to close the legs with them taped.
yeah,
And then trying to find a make and manufacturer on these, there's nothing on these, most of these particular tables to find replacements, but there are replacement parts. We can service some of the tables. But we can also replace, you know, a percentage of them each year as well and just start planning to do that.
we did get some carts, you said, right, for the
For the
tables, we're not
rounds.
rolling the round tables around everywhere anymore.
Yeah, we bought 2 carts so we can hold 20 tables on that, which will help a lot, especially with the stuff that's gotta cover a lot of ground, like when you're taking from here to the annex or from here into the arena. That's a lot of rolls on a table.
Yeah.
Rolling across there. I think getting a few more of them would definitely be, it would save us a lot on lifetime of
Yeah.
tables. I know some event centers, probably most of them actually do the setup. And I think some of that is because they want to bill for the hours, but they also want to preserve the quality of their equipment, so it's not getting destroyed.
Yeah.
That's a manpower thing that we don't really have the capacity for at this point. Yeah. Tuesday, so I'm just trying to think back, I just kind of, as rolling into this debrief, I didn't really build a system to talk about each day, I just thought we would kind of bounce around things each day. Tuesday. Yeah, we were still kind of adjusting on our setup. We had the Rascal Rodeo piece, which brought in a bunch of stuff up in that back area, and so that area. I'm trying to think, there was something we were trying to move around back there.
There's, in that area, there needs to be some cleanup. You have the big tires there. There was some kind of cement post with nails everywhere, not very
I
safe
mean, in the horse area.
by the horse area. And then there was an upside down step. That, something there, well, you can't use that for a horse because it's like enough to get onto this table maybe.
Any horse.
Yeah, not gonna work. So that just needs to be cleaned up because there was a lot. I did, going back to that, have, someone from the horse lady come up and wants the mound of dirt moved. She says that's for, holding area, who's 4-H right here. I've never known for that to be a holding pen. I mean, my daughter, when she showed fair, we never had a holding area back there where the horses stayed there, but, that is something that they want. But I do get the tires and there's broken down fencing. It's just some of that stuff, it needs to be cleaned up. It just, it was just, looks like everything was just thrown in the corner behind that crow's nest. And that crow's nest is just trashed anyways,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? So that does need to be cleaned up.
I think last year was the first year they used it as a holding area.
It
Yeah.
was, and it was because of the safety, because someone's child got stepped on by a horse because they walked close to the horse or something and accidentally got stepped on, but
Maybe a specific work session where we bring horse folks in and have a discussion about stuff.
No, necessarily, if that's even the thing, we just need the stuff cleaned up. I mean, it's the same situation behind the dairy barn. There's stuff.
Yeah.
You know, shoved in places like curbs that are just, I mean, I think it'd be just. My suggestion is that we do a fair board walkthrough of the grounds and
Yeah.
make a list of items that we see
that need to be cleaned
that
up.
we can talk about.
Sure. I know, the dirt was the dirt that was all donated for the monster truck, and the thought was we were gonna be doing these reoccurring events and we need dirt, and really where that dirt is where they were storing dirt in the past when they were doing the mud dregs and all of that. And the dirt eventually just got pushed over the hill. and
Yeah.
lost. So we had a stockpile of dirt that got flattened out, and then we had to get a new stockpile of dirt. I did have a conversation with somebody about those horse panels, or there's like the fencing stuff. It's like, whose is this and can we get rid of it?
And it's-
There's stuff here that it's like, we don't.
And
know
it's
anything
broke,
about it.
you can't use it, it needs to be in the garbage, so I think between 4-H, maybe Friends of the Fair, we could all go through it, do a meeting, go through it, though, that needs, cause I think most of it needs to be thrown in the garbage.
Yeah.
Some of it just needs to be thrown away.
But I think we need just a timeline, and so we make sure it gets
Yes.
done.
Preferably before it starts getting absolutely disgusting out.
So maybe,
Yeah.
maybe next month,
Yeah.
Next
we
month.
plan on for our work session.
Do a walk.
Do a walkthrough.
Do a walk through the
Yeah.
grounds,
That's on the calendar here.
just do that.
Maybe some later.
Um,
Oh, and then bringing the Rascal Rodeo in, that was kind of confusing because I know Rascal Rodeo wasn't here yet. And we had the horse, people that were bringing their horses were coming. We need to kind of have it more clear where they're supposed to go, where they're supposed to set their trailers, because nobody knew what was going on, and it was,
yeah.
and I'm like, I have no idea, and I didn't know, and so I didn't like not knowing where to tell people to go.
Yeah.
Like, this is where you're supposed to go, this is what's happening and
Yeah.
stuff, so we need to have a little bit more.
We gave that information to, Aunt Erica had asked us for it, we gave her the information. She was supposed to be sending all that out to the volunteers, because they all sign up through her and all that.
I think it's a really good idea, though. I know I'm gonna be, like, what do you call it when they're repetitive over and over again, broken record. To involve a fair board member that is involved in that thing, so they know just in case somebody else isn't there to provide the information.
Which I think Brittany and Kelly were included in all.
We were included, I was included most, Callie did most of that
Yep.
work. And one thing too, it was nice that we didn't have as many horses because like Dr. Ramsey had her horses here, but she then, when she was done, she was doing vet checks. So she needed a stall to stall her horses. So
Yeah.
it was nice that we had some, so that might be something that next year, if we do it, that we need to have some stalls open for those that are participating. So that if they do want to stay and hang out at fair,
Yeah.
or if it is Dr. Ramsey, that they don't have to like, what are they supposed to do with their horses all of a sudden?
Yeah.
We need to provide
That's a
that.
good idea.
Yeah, we had the lizard guy on Tuesday. That was pretty nice. He ended up, the morning that he was setting up, he goes, hey, my stuff's pretty spaced out. Can I just set up a booth? Like the time in between. So that was kind of a little bonus that we got from him, being here all day with his animals in between the show. Animals, are they animals? His lizards in between the shows. So we got some added value from him. The pig roast, I think, went well.
I didn't even know it was happening again.
Pig roast.
I don't know. Maybe it's a me
Every
thing.
Tuesday.
Maybe it's a week. Oh, yeah, Tuesday's a big show night, so.
And,
I ran up there, but I didn't get it.
Toyota sponsored it, so that was great. They covered the cost of that. That was something that came in pretty late. That was a good thing. Gave them an additional 150 admission tickets also, so yes, they sponsored it for the full price, but you take off that 150 admission tickets off
Yeah.
there. It didn't necessarily cover the full price, but that's still a good benefit. You get people in the door. It's still really valuable.
Yeah.
there was some conversation with that and with the steak dinner about, you know, making announcements. And I think that's something to definitely work on, because you kind of have this stage and then you have that stage. And getting a way of making an, at least the plan and discussing, hey, we need to make announcements from time to time. I think that's something to definitely look at when we bid out this stage also, that for the sound guy, we would like him to be like an MC in addition to just really, you know, doing the sound checks and running the lights and sound, like making those announcements in between the stuff, like, hey, the pig roast is happening up there. If you guys.
Well,
didn't
same
know,
with
That.
Mutton busting's happening at one
Speaking
and
of that,
3
We have
Uh,
a list of things.
Yeah.
the mic.
Yeah.
That stuff, we realized we do need that set up prior to weigh-in. It is so helpful for them to be able to call which club's up next, and we did not have that this year.
So that'd be Sunday.
Yeah, usually we have that, and I don't know, I mean, I didn't notice it till people are like, we don't even know when we're going, and I'm like, and
There was no way.
and unfortunately, right now, you know, the people that are doing the weigh-ins and stuff, they don't have a lot of hands that can help them to run and stuff. So that having the mic set up prior to that would be golden.
We have some new, and maybe they could use ours, we have some new, they're not karaoke machines, but they're wireless. And we tried them in the office and you can go 20 or 30 feet away from the thing. And so if you put it on the table, it really was loud. So they could maybe borrow that and just set that up for like, for the later.
I just think it would be super helpful for the clubs and the kids and the.
Yeah,
Do we know what we pay per day for it? And you probably don't have that off the top of your head, but for the sound,
It's,
what was the total for the sound? Just for down here?
I wanna say like 7 grand.
So
I don't
basically,
know.
Almost
It's,
about-
it's tough because his quotes come in kind of weird. It's like a 4-piece quote between the tent and stage, the sound, the portable sound, and then we rent chairs and tables and stuff from the buses.
Yeah, well, maybe because there's not a lot going on in the barn, we can use the fairground sound system.
yeah, whatever we can do to make that happen
Overhead one to work in the barn,
Yeah.
so if we need to make an overhead announcement.
would be
yeah,
very nice.
Because the ones on the stage, you can't hear back like where our pigs.
Oh,
were.
see, that's where I could hear it. I couldn't hear the stage sound from when I was sitting in the bleachers. It was weird. But regardless, anything that if we can just make sure that we have a way for them to announce what group is up next, you know, when goats are starting, when, you know, it's hard for them, the 4-H people to run everywhere and all at one time and I just know that would make it a lot easier. We have a lot of young kids in 4-H right now, which is awesome. But also it's hard for littler kids to know what to do.
Yeah.
And we don't have enough adults to go around
Yeah.
everywhere.
Well, and when they're showing the beef, those speakers right there on the stage, they startle the beef.
Yeah, well, we were able to
Turn
turn those and turn
Yeah,
them
you
down.
did, you guys
The
did turn
people
them
couldn't
during the
hear,
thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just-
that
it
was the hard
just
thing, yeah. Then you couldn't hear,
It was.
because they were turned.
And the fans were going.
I have a solution for that, though.
We are working with Cascade Sound. They came in and they assessed our system. We had a fried equalizer on the box in here. There's a couple other, all of that equipment is obsolete, out of date.
Yeah.
So they assessed it. They know what they need. They haven't given us the report or a quote to replace the parts, because right when they were doing that was right when it was starting to roll into event season. So we will get all of that upgraded. It's probably going to be 5 to 10K to replace that equipment and get it going. But
Let's,
if that's what we do every 15 years, that's what it is.
I would really like, again, I'm gonna be broken record. I'd like to set a timeline on that if we could. Like end of year, you know, that'd be great if we could at least have the quote and settle on what, you know, what quote we want to go with by end of year. I think that's a good idea.
So
Have you guys considered also the app? So if everybody, whatever the app is, like the school district uses one app, just to send out notifications or push notifications. So then you're not necessarily battling sound or startling cows. You're using a platform that's made to connect with multiple people on the, that's a whole objective.
Not all the
That's-
kids have.
Yeah,
phones,
not all
though,
little kids have phones and it's more about like during weigh-in.
On
For
it.
them to know, okay, Melville, be at your pens. You guys are gonna weigh, you're up next. And all these little kids are running around, oh, I'm Melville, you know, they're gonna go and they're so excited to weigh their first pig. They're gonna go up there and run to their pen. I mean, for the older people or maybe for adults and leaders and stuff like that, I could totally see that working, but for now, I think we're gonna have to stick to an old fashioned sound system on this for a while.
I get what you're saying though, because with
Yeah.
set, we have like a WhatsApp app or whatever, and then we send out anytime the new event's going out, or, you know, this
Yeah.
is starting in 15, or this just ended, we need, you know what I mean? And you get a text and everybody just, okay, we gotta go.
Well,
And it does work,
I wish that.
but they're teenagers.
Yeah, exactly. And now we have a lot of little kids and not enough leaders to go around, you know what I mean? But I just love that when we can announce it, all the kids usually are pretty good about running to their pen, so. That is a good idea for teenagers, because they're glued to their phone. I'll put it on, adding in one.
Looks like Jen had a question, Jennifer. You guys wanna,
Yep, please.
hey Jen, can you hear us?
Looks like she's muted.
I think our mic's off.
Oh, she.
Oh,
Asked to unmute.
do the ask.
There you
Hello.
There you are.
Hi. How is everybody?
Wonderful. How are you?
Good. Hey, so I just was listening to the conversation, and I just want to let you know on the tables, I did actually see a whole section of them collapse over on the west side of the fairgrounds building. I did get a video of it, but I don't know if I saved it or not on my phone. But it was like a whole bunch of round tables with, people that were attending the fair had just collapsed. So I'm definitely in support of getting those replaced. And Kyle, I just want you to know that the convention center is always here as a resource for you if you need contacts for replacement tables, chairs, sound equipment, any of that. I mean, that's just right up our alley. So we're happy to be there for you.
Thank you, Jen.
Yeah,
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jen. I know I talked with Brian on, I think it was probably Tuesday, and he was offering to come out. I said, maybe not during the fair, but let's connect and do a walkthrough on each other's facilities.
Can I add to
Great.
that?
Yeah,
Every function I've ever been to, there's been collapsed tables, not just there.
That's really terrible. Really, it is. I mean, and
It's probably the same too.
I've never.
Yeah. Be embarrassing.
no, it is
Right.
very embarrassing.
was, the last banquet we had, like 10 of them ended up getting taped and ended up being totally like bent out of shape the next day.
So why are we using tape?
We're not doing it, the vents are using that.
So why are we putting, I can't,
Because it's how they fold on the bottom. So you
Yes.
snap up, so they tape them down so they don't pop up and the legs don't fold under.
okay, so what is? I mean, we also, let's make a plan for. Let's figure out in this year's budget what we can afford to replace, but anything that's collapsible, we need to pull. We cannot put those out. We
a
cannot,
liability.
it's a liability.
Have the other places that have been renting them said anything? They said that the tables have been collapsing or anything, or do we just like notice after the fact?
We'll occasionally notice after the fact, there'll be tape left on them. But no, nobody necessarily comes and says that we had issues with it.
Is there, like, so we have when we do the kitchen rental and stuff like that, we have kind of a list that we probably go through and check off and make sure
Mhm.
everything's there and stuff like that. Do we do that with any of the other stuff that we have? I mean, I know that's probably like a bigger thing.
Not quite, it is something that I think could be very valuable for us, like counting the amount of curtains and pipes and drapes that we have, like this stuff can easily disappear.
Mhm.
As far as counting every single table and pulling every table out after every event and counting every chair and all that, we're not doing that,
Yeah,
but,
I mean, I don't even necessarily think counting it, but maybe having some sort of exit checklist for them or something
Yeah,
like that,
there's
where they
definitely
can
a
tell
checklist,
us, because
yeah.
if they're not telling us, then that's not something we would know, but if they are telling us that tables are collapsing and we're just not doing anything about it, that's a bigger problem.
right, yeah, there is a checklist for after their events, but we could add something about, giving us, let us know if you had problems with any of our stuff. I don't
Yeah.
think we don't have anything like that. That'd be
Yeah.
valuable to add on to.
So I would like to, this work session along, we've got 2 more minutes before our regular meeting is supposed to start. So we're kind of gonna skip over, the rest of the days here. How do you feel like cleanup went?
We really appreciate the extra work that was done on the cleanup day. We have this big event next weekend. And without all of that extra work with the helping of the tearing down the stalls, there's no way we would have been able to be ready for it.
Yeah.
There's still quite a bit to do in there, but what we have left now is totally gonna be manageable to get done before then. So it's really appreciated, the difference on that. There was, we didn't do anything different than we ever did before, but, Recology came and got the drop boxes on the Monday after the fair. I think that's something we'll look at for future contracts, is at least waiting until Tuesday, because there's so many things for us going on. We still have bags and stuff out that needs to be hauled over to the dumpsters.
Yeah.
So that was something that we noticed. Really, there's just a lot of little stuff, and we only have one seasonal here now open, so.
Yeah.
And then not only that, but all of the staff has been working basically, 18-hour days for 3 weeks, so we all took a day off as well.
Yeah.
So, we're just getting through it, getting it cleaned up. We didn't have an event in here this weekend, but I think we would have been, or last week, we could have been ready for that. Just getting ready for a camping event is pretty easy.
Yeah.
It's basically make sure all the trash is picked up everywhere and the gates are open. Next weekend, it's gonna be, back to business as usual. Everything's gonna be done.
Yeah.
Okay, real quick survey, Sarah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
For surveys, what program are you running these through?
So what we use the Survey Monkey or MailChimp or Job Forms. We can do it through either one. These are just, trying to put some questions together before we sent it out, trying to see if there were any particular questions that you all were interested in hearing from folks. And then we'll get these distributed out. It's only really the public survey is the big one that we would send out. These other ones are going directly to people that.
So what I'd like to ask is that each committee board member for each section, like concert, survey, that the committee board member have access to the responses as they come in. So fair sponsorship, like that would be Mallory and myself. Concert sponsor would be Mallory and myself. The food vendors is, well, you're gonna have to do that with me because you're now the replacement of that committee with me. But do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want, as far as,
I want to know what they're saying.
we do too.
Yeah. I want to.
And we, at the end of the day, I'm gonna say this over and over again tonight. We're responsible for the fairgrounds and we're responsible for the fair, so we are the ones that should be seeing it. As it comes in, not a month later. We need to be thinking about it now. Please.
Okay.
So do we want to look over each one of these one by
I've
one
heard-
now, or do you want me to send these to you all and?
Just
you guys
email
look
them
at
to
them
us
Over the
Yeah.
weekend, and then we can.
Yeah,
and then we'll
get
get back
these
to you
issued
by
next
the end of
week.
this week.
yeah, and let's get them out next week. Yeah, let's get it done. And if you could put a marketing one together, I would appreciate that.
Okay. Our work session is adjourned. We're gonna roll right into our regular meeting, 6 o'clock. Roll call, everybody is present. We just need to approve the agenda. Sarah, you had an adjustment that you'd like to make to the agenda?
I have a couple.
Okay.
I would like to add an action item about the completed MOUs. I would also like to add an action item of cleaning protocols of grounds and buildings before and after events.
We talked about the surveys, that's not an option. This is not an action item, but I would like very much so if we could do the interactive Google Calendar of events that we can log into with our Google accounts at any point in time. We've asked for this for over a year, and it would be very helpful because don't like digging back through my email when we get these,
So I
so.
think that can go in the minutes when we come up
Yeah.
with,
Yeah.
board members' reports or good of the order.
Okay, perfect.
And so, but those other two items, we're gonna need a motion.
Yep.
To, add them to the business agenda.
Yep.
I'll make a motion to add both of her items to the agenda.
Completed MOU, action item, and cleaning protocols of grounds and buildings.
Yep, before and after an event. I second it.
Okay. All in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. They've been added to the business agenda. All right. Now we're gonna roll into public comment. So at this time, anyone wishing to address the Fair Board concerning items of interest on or off the agenda may do so. The person addressing the Fair Board will, when recognized, give their name and address for the record. All remarks will be addressed to the Fair Board, and limited to 3 minutes per person. Fair Board members reserve the right to delay any action, if required, until such time when they are fully informed and the matter is scheduled as an agenda item.
Okay, I was told that really quick just tonight. Just a reminder that public comment is to the Fair Board about Fair Board stuff. We do not have any control over the auction committee. We do not have any control over 4-H or FFA. So anything that's directed to the Fair Board, please keep it about fairground business and Fair Board business.
That's a good comment. Thank you, sir. Do we have any public comment tonight?
I had one.
Okay,
Wes Holtusen, 1769 Southeast Second Astoria. I do the car show. And, this year we raised, well, actually last year we raised $860 that we donated to the, John Clark of the Astoria Middle School for supplies for his kids, excuse me. And, I wanted to bring it up and see if everyone wanted to vote on, we raised $850 for this year. If we hold it until next year and do something with it, or also donate it to his cause for supplies for his students.
what do you think should happen?
I vote to give it to him now, and then I want to push for some of the car clubs and stuff like that to also donate money into this. I'm excited about this year because I finally feel like I got our foot in the door to get some kids involved with what I'm doing up there. And next year we have some big ideas, and John himself is building a 9-hole miniature golf course. It's all Astoria themed and he wants to bring it here.
Oh yeah, that'd be really cool.
So I want to keep him enthusiastic about what he's doing. I watched him the whole time up there, and watching those kids' level of respect for him and what they were doing was everything I'm hoping for.
Yeah.
So I vote to give it to him now. We haven't given him anything yet. We'll do it once they're back to school. And the way I'm told to do it is we need to call and make a donation to his cause for supplies, not let it get wrapped up in red tape at the school.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
same, absolutely.
We don't have to vote
We
on
don't
it.
have to vote on it.
Thank you so much for doing that. We really
Thank you.
appreciate you
Yeah, it's awesome.
doing that up there. It's been a great addition to the fair for sure.
Well, it's going to grow. We have some great ideas. We're going to get some, have access to 2 different Pinewood Derby tracks I found out. And we're going to, I want to get it out earlier now that I have a direction. And people who have made Pinewood Derby cars past years, and hopefully work into a work group of kids building cars. And we can do some races up there.
Yeah.
Alongside of John's track. And the Beach Barons offered to make some trophies and stuff for kids. So, you know, any kind of interaction that we could get, I think is all plus in a
For
fair anymore.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely agree with that. You know, this whole thing is for agriculture, of course, but oh, we're crying out loud. It's for the youth, right?
Yeah, it's for the kids.
Everything's centered around the youth, right?
Yeah.
We want to make sure, because they're our future.
Well,
Yeah.
those
Make sure
kids
they're
that were up there for
involved.
this time aren't the particular kids that you would typically see at fair.
Yeah,
You know, they were just kids who were building stuff that had nothing to do with animals. And it was
That's still cool.
so cool to see them doing what they were doing and talking with people. I talked to John, he says, I'm just gonna step back. They're doing such a good job
Aw.
telling about it. And we got them all shirts from Jim Varner, actually donated them to them.
Very cool.
From the Reaper, and it just worked out so well. There was only 4 kids really. There were some others, you know, that weeded in and out, but I expect that to grow next year.
That's awesome. I think that's really cool. Thank you.
thank you very much, Wes. Julie, Connor?
I just want to say thank you very much to the Fair Board for the amazing job you do for our kids.
Oh,
Put on an amazing auction and have a great time and learn 3 animals. So
Oh.
my hat's off to all of you.
we appreciate you too. Thank you, Julie.
Great.
I've got numbers, but I thought we were doing a roundtable thing. So my first question is Katrina, 41590 Press Loop. I thought we'd do like a roundtable debrief, but that's not what was happening. Is that something scheduled in the future? or-
Something that we usually schedule, yes.
Can I share some stuff with them for now?
Yes, sure.
You've
I
got
love
3
you.
minutes.
I love you.
I'd love.
I don't know if I'm blocking anything. All right, so here, because I want to show that one. Thank you so much for your support of community competitions. It's awesome to work with Kyle and Kristen as well. We had an increase in participation. So you guys know that we went from, we were at 46%, I think, estimated increase, but we ended up with the difference in 72 more exhibitors for community competitions. So that was awesome. We grew by 90 in regards to amount of exhibits. So it was a lot bigger participation there, which was great. We had 25 volunteers. We had 3 live contests. So those were new for us to add. And Amy kicked it off with that Tuesday flower arranging, piggybacking off of our partners in 4-H. That was really cool. We appreciated the support for that. It went out. And overall, we just felt a really good sense of support there. So the participation you're seeing recorded has.
This is cool. Look at that.
We saw the reflection is when we did a breakdown, a really big support from the age group of adults with 5 years of experience and under. And then second to that includes adults with 6 years and plus. So when we see an increase, I hope is when we see more of an increase of adults. You're looking at me or with?
No, I
know,
love
this is
really
awesome.
exciting. I love
This is
my
this.
jam. I
This is
love
fun.
this stuff. Give me all the charts.
Number screen, but no pressure. So I've written it. But we're seeing the participation is broken down, and I can pass it around for folks, just the different departments we have. So floral have the highest participation, and I think it's easier to bring individual flowers in, which is nice to see. That adults with 5 and under experience, so we opened up these categories for divisions. So before we had kids, you know, like 17 and younger, and then for the hobbies and crafts, those areas, we broke it down to smaller groups. We haven't offered experience beyond just an adult before and broken that down. So we broke that down to 3 categories. It costs a little bit more money because that means we were dividing up the awards more. So thank you for our budget. And, but what it did do is increase the amount of exhibitors. So we saw the increase there, right?
Yeah.
So I'm loving this kind of data and having access to it. ShowWorks gives us this breakdown. And I know there's pros and cons that folks had with 4-H, but it was a valuable tool for us.
Can I ask a question? We can talk, right? Okay, well, I don't want to break any rules.
Go ahead.
Hobbies, what is that? That's a lot, there's a lot of
There is,
participants.
yeah, so hobbies and crafts is really vast, so it's gonna be, expressive arts is the more the painted and the pencil and the
Okay.
pen, right? Hobbies and crafts is our woodworking, metalworking,
Cool,
it's the
see, that's cool.
ornaments,
That's
it's the, all of those kind of really variety crafting in different areas.
I love that.
It's
Yeah.
like when something doesn't fit into one of the other categories, it's up in the hobby.
Well, I think like the welding and the stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
Would go, okay, all right, that's
Yeah.
really cool.
So it's a good breakdown, there's absolutely, I think there's capacity for more, to add to this,
Yeah.
in regards to participants, as well as we could maybe look at collecting sponsorships. I spent less time with data entry this year, which was really nice because of ShowWorks. And so there's an opportunity to expand and consider more live contests.
and what participation might look like.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Really cool.
The live contest added 30 more participants onto the final count of 213 exhibitors. So we
Wow.
looked at 243 this year
Wow.
versus last year's 141.
That's great.
Wow,
That's really
awesome.
great.
Great job.
Thank you.
I'll give you a spare time.
All right, any more public comment? Dee?
So.
Name, date, name, address.
DD 435-448 Homer Lane, Astoria.
Thank you.
You guys touched on a few of my concerns earlier about the cleanliness of things. But the VIP porta potties, they go in the same place every year. They need a rock pad and they need to be level because this
Yeah.
year they were absolutely disgusting. Their little old lady went in there and she fell out of it because they were tipped forward. When you went in there, all of the urine
Oh,
like
boy.
would come out of it. It was disgusting. But they go in the same place, so maybe we can just have a flat rock.
Yeah, we could throw some rock back
Yeah,
there.
absolutely.
Or move them.
I think
Like,
they could
right?
probably be moved. I
That's
don't
the other
really
part
see
too, we
why
can move them.
they're in
Like
that
it's
particular spot.
string lights for like, because yet they were backwards, you know?
Oh, yeah, so it's dark.
And in there, you know, whatever, but this year they were disgusting.
Okay.
We've been requested by VIP that they are backwards facing there because they don't want people seeing them go in the bathroom.
Backwards is fine, but when you're tipped forward.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, that's not good.
No, that's not good.
Wow. Anything else?
No, you guys touched on everything else.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. Anybody else?
I guess so.
Oh, good.
Tom Tello, 35072 Jefferson Lane. So, I don't know what your sentiment was on the people mover, but, we used it for the 4-H for the 4th of July parade.
Mhm.
One of the 4-H clubs went out there and it was decorated and the parade was very well attended. And, of course, it has stickers on it that says Clatsop County Fairgrounds. I didn't know if there could be find the resources to maybe get some paint on it
You know,
some way.
can we ask, do you know how much that would cost?
I have no idea, but I mean, if Fair was possibly interested, I could pursue something of that nature. And then,
Probably 3 gallons of paint would do it, so
you know,
even if you buy an expensive paint, $300.
Yeah.
Well,
Prep work.
if you would like to, come up with a plan on that and then we could talk, does that work? I mean, I think we're interested as a board, right?
Yes, yeah.
it gets used for the fair and it gets used for the
Absolutely.
parade,
Yeah.
and then also the Scan Fest people use it.
Yep.
And I know last year it did get used out at the airport for an event,
Cool.
for
Yeah.
an open house they had out there with the Coast Guard. And, I mean, it would be expensive to replace and it's in dire need of a little bit of.
Little bit of love.
Upgrade.
Little bit of love.
Little bit of
yeah.
love.
Absolutely.
Aren't we
Yes.
all?
Fantastic if we could get like a senior project or something.
So-
That would be very
Yeah, that
cool
would be
too.
FFA or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're gonna do it on time.
There was some interest, but I don't know if COVID killed it or whatever.
Yeah.
So, but.
Yeah, that
like
would
to
be
kinda
great.
maybe Get an idea in the works.
Okay.
And then also, Lori and I did go down to another fair and one thing that is. I don't like is that, I mean, there's always safety concerns. I mean, people can get hurt with a pencil that's not sharpened, but,
Yes.
most of the drivers our drivers are volunteers, but we did have, most all of the drivers have CDLs and of course we have the sheriff himself and also the guy that works for the insurance company that underwrites liability insurance. Yeah, they were drivers, so,
Yeah.
we don't try to get just whatever. But anyway, I did take a picture of another people mover and it does have a rail on one side, which, it has a rail, so people only can get off on one side.
I like that.
Oh.
I think that's actually a
You know,
fabulous.
so then people are not getting on and off on both sides, so you only have
It's
to look
easier
at
to
one
be
side.
aware of one side than both. Yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you go to take off, and
Yeah.
jump, and.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Or going in front after they've gone off the other
Yeah.
side and then go around.
I think that is a good idea.
I mean, it's a possibility or something, and I mean, it can be detachable, so you can move it from one side to the other,
Okay.
Yeah, it wouldn't be that expensive
One of
either.
the other things that.
but that would also cost something.
Not connected with, the functionality, but we did see that there was a lot of kids that just were riding it around. And so they would go down to the parking lot and they'd stay on it.
Yeah.
And then there was no
That's,
room
that's
for,
Clatsop
but
County
there was no
Fair.
room for any other people to get on the.
We don't have carnival rides, we have
Yeah,
a
so-
mover.
Yeah, it's true. In that case, when I was riding the people mover, the driver, usually Tom, would yell at us, get off,
Yeah.
because people need to get on.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
I think that's just something that's gonna happen.
yeah.
They're,
Kids like it.
They do,
they
they love
do,
it.
I just tell people if they're, as long as you're not monkeying around and, I mean, we had,
Yeah.
I drove for an hour, 4 kids rode on it, they're like, let me know when it's 10:30.
It is a good, I mean, it really
And
is,
I'm
I
not saying
love
that
it.
it's not bad for the
Yeah.
restaurant, but when there's 8 people down there.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah.
Oh, yeah,
And
they
there's
need to
no
clear
room.
off for
Then
that.
get off
for
and come
sure.
back on.
I like that idea.
Thank you.
Julie, you have anything?
Sorry, 85748 North Creek Road, Oregon. I have 2 items, so, I would love to see in front of the 4-H entries, a schedule of everything that's gonna happen during the day, so people that are coming through that have no idea what a pig show is, and can say, hey, there's a pig show at 2 o'clock, let's stay and watch that. So every entrance, I think there should be, it could even be like one of those paper clip things, and you just.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's already pre-written.
Yeah,
The second thing would be, once we entice people to come in that have never gone to a 4-H show, have like a little section of maybe an alum or somebody that's not doing a show, explain what's going on.
that is kind of cool, that's a great
So,
idea.
like educating, because if you're just
Yeah,
sitting
we
there,
would
you
not
have no clue what's going on.
Yeah.
But if somebody's there to say, hey, the judge is looking for this, these kids did this, and this to get here.
So I think at one point we had discussed doing like a board at the front entrance and then possibly in other areas too. I do think that that is a really good idea, that we do need to make sure it happens next year, that the day schedule is posted on that board for what's where, and because a lot of the people don't know that there's a pig show. What's a pig show? A lot of people don't know what that is.
And I know we've posted it over here, but people just don't go over there to see it. It's just not.
It's at the admission gates as well. But
But like, is it
something
just
at
a little
the-
piece of paper? I think we should do like a board, I mean,
Yeah,
like
I
an
think-
interactive
yeah.
board.
Yeah.
And QR codes. I know that we had the ones
I have-
I was flipping
Yeah,
all the time with the
I did.
QR
That was
codes.
great.
It was awesome.
I loved having
Or
that
so
badge.
We have
Yeah.
badges that on the back of our badges has QR codes for every different type of thing. So if you need to look up something 4-H, there's the QR code for that. If you need to, look up something with the county, the QR codes for that. I mean, Kristen put that together for us and
That
she
was
does a lovely
fantastic.
job doing that. But even if we could do something like that on the reader board too, or not a reader board per se, but you know what I'm
Yeah.
talking about? Like a bigger board, but I think we need to put this idea down and commit that we're gonna do it.
Oh,
And
Mrs.
thank
Bellingham,
you.
you need to state your name and address, please.
Yes, please.
90171 Northern Road, Astoria. And backing off of Julie's, that was an idea that we had brought back from the fair.
Mhm, it was a
Having
booklet.
those That people got,
Yep.
and I would really love something, because like, that's the primary goal of the fair, is to educate the public about ag. It's not just the 4-H and FFA stuff, it's the fair board.
Oh, it is absolutely. That's the stature. It
Yeah.
says right in there.
Yeah,
That's our
it is.
responsibility.
And that was something that I learned at the fair convention, but having those booklets to the general public, I think I still have mine. It was awesome because it showed like the public, they had the QR codes that you could scan, and then they
Exactly.
had the different ag things that people could go and scan to learn about the different things. So
That's really cool.
Would you be willing to head up a committee to make that happen?
Yes, she would.
I would like you guys to revisit that idea of.
I would love
like,
to revisit that idea.
I don't
Thank
feel
you.
like on the fairgrounds, if you visit Deschutes County, there's things on every single barn
Yep.
This is
I
the
also
big barn,
think
this is this,
You
like.
could also make like and this sounds silly, but you could also make like a scavenger out of
That's-
it.
it's
Like
part of
connect
that.
the dots
Part
of
of
each portion.
Passport.
That's part of the book, and then.
Yeah,
there's
that's
the
cool.
Community prizes that people turned in at the end.
Cool.
So I would really love to see more of that around here.
Your time, Doug.
I believe when we talked about. I believe when we talked about that too, we talked about businesses possibly sponsoring in that booklet.
Yeah.
For those that couldn't afford to sponsor at the concert or purchase an animal,
It's a
but
good-
that was a good way to,
Yeah.
to sponsor. It's a smaller sponsorship. And I remember that conversation last year in September, October, we had that.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I would just,
Yep.
going forward, like, if you walk the fairgrounds, just even during fair, you don't learn anything about agriculture. I mean, unless you're reading the kids' stuff in the 4-H and in their projects, I don't think as a general, the public is learning about agriculture.
Well, like the year that we had the round bales, that it's the decorating the round bales and stuff like that. People had no idea what's a round bale, and all of a sudden they're figuring out, like, we could totally do a QR code about what a round bale is, what type of nutrients it gives, wrapped and unwrapped, all the cool stuff, you know?
Yeah, they
and-
have them to support as well, of
Yeah.
what's in a corn dog and.
Oh, yes,
where it's supposed
yeah.
to
Where does that come from? I'm not really sure I want to know about the corn dog, but you know,
But I'm
maybe
just
if
saying,
it's all
there's-
beef.
There's ways throughout the whole fair, and
Yeah.
I feel like we're missing that mark.
a big
Yes.
part, that's a huge piece too.
Yeah,
Yes.
because every piece can tie into it.
Yeah, everything. Okay,
Anybody, oh, sorry.
Amy Boyvich, 90302 Logan Road, Astoria. And kind of along that line, we didn't think of it till after fair was over, but even in our advertising of like community competitions, maybe we can work with the 4-H and, and it could also be put out there that like what time our intake is, what time their intake
that
is,
is a
what time their
huge deal.
takedown is, what time and
Mhm.
everybody advertises all of that. Because then we don't have people showing up, for
It's
their.
a big
hours, or
deal.
Disappointed the public that they can't come in or can't get their stuff.
It used to be that way many years ago.
Yeah, it used to be on the same day.
Yes, yeah,
We
okay,
have to come in at 6 AM to do that, so as a volunteer, I will not be showing up at 6 AM.
And it was a really good community this year.
Yeah.
Fair between the office, the board, 4-H, and we felt very supported in community.
Well, we
competitions, and that was
appreciate you.
Really, it was really a blessing this year. So I thank everybody for that.
Thank you for all your work.
Things.
Thank you for feeding my son all week.
I mean, I was gonna just state that I feel like I should make a donation to them for babysitting my 2 children, but.
Get out. Some people's children came and I, actually earned some money by coming. Yeah. It was a blessing too.
Anyone else with any public comment?
Okay. We are going to move into our consent calendar.
So with us leading up to the fair, we had a late meeting last month. We didn't get the minutes out, so we'll bring the minutes for the next 2 meetings to the next one, but the video is posted already.
Okay.
So if you went to our site, you would see the video for last month's meeting, but we'll bring you both of the minutes at the same time.
Okay. Board member reports. Mallory, start with you. Do you have anything to report?
I don't think so, not that we haven't got it already. Or the same.
No, I can do my little other things now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
I know, that's what I got.
we all look at Matt. Can we? Okay, so. This has been on my mind a lot. I feel like, when I was inside the barn with 4-H and the kids, fair was awesome. That being said, I didn't really want to leave the barn much. I just feel like we have a lot of work to do on what's outside of that barn. And I think back to all the years when you walk up on a fairgrounds and there's flowers planted and there's curb appeal and there's a lot. There's pride. That's our community. And I feel like we're kind of missing something here. And then so I went back and
I'm gonna go back and come back and bring it on to us because at the end of the day, you may be the one doing the work, but we're the ones that are doing the due diligence. We're the ones that are in charge of the fairgrounds. We're the ones that are in charge of the fair. So my focus from here on out is going to be making sure that we were paying attention to everything and not just putting it all on you. So like I was saying, going forward, I really want us to do and schedule the walkthrough for the next work session. I want to make sure that we're included in on all contracts or applications or any such thing with anybody, because it ultimately end of day is our fair board contract. And when we are wanting something done, I'm gonna push for a timeline. We need action to be action. We need to say, okay, this is what we want, and this is when we want it by. And if it's not possible, you know, then, I mean, I think we're all very reasonable people. I don't think we're gonna ask for anything in a time crunch. And if I ever do, Matt will tell me that you're being ridiculous, Sarah, and I appreciate that.
Can I
But
get that in writing, please?
I'm not, I live my life in joy.
Yeah. There you go.
So we're gonna bring it back. I wanna bring it back to the basics. I'm gonna take this like a business approach of what I would do for the place that I work. We should be seeing everything. We're not doing our job as board members if we aren't seeing it. So, yeah, that's what I have to say about that. Does anybody else want to add to it?
Yeah, I'm absolutely happy to have that. I think I spent a lot of time trying to wait for some involvement, and then finally the message was, we just want you to move forward with these things and take care of them. So then once I got that message, that's what I started doing. Some discussion was had, maybe we do two meetings a month, and we can go through some of those, where one of them's just like a virtual meeting, and we can have more time where we can go over those things, because if we gotta wait, if I gotta wait 6 weeks, you know, basically 2 weeks before,
Yeah, nothing
enough
gets
time to
done.
get ready for the meeting, and then another 4 weeks. That's
I also
gonna
think-
slow things down even further.
Sure, and I think that we need to set priorities.
Yeah.
I just think that we all get so caught up in the fair stuff sometimes. Anyway, we just need to approach it as a business approach. We need to figure out our action items. We need to be involved, and we need to set deadlines.
Yeah, there is a fine line there though, too, as a manager of maybe not running a business, but I run a business within a business.
Yeah,
You know, there's a fine line there of hiring people to do a job and micromanaging that to where,
I'm not
where it can't be
micromanaging,
done.
but we should see contracts.
yeah, I agree with that. We should see contracts and stuff, but if like Kyle just said, if he's waiting for us to approve everything, nothing will ever get
I don't
done.
want to
So-
approve everything, but I think we need to set like the main goals. And we'll get to those coming down, you know, but we have to move forward, and there's a lot of items that we've been sitting on for 18 months.
Agreed, yeah.
So, yes, that's what I'm saying. I don't want to micromanage anybody because I wouldn't be fun to deal with if I micromanage,
We also don't
because,
get paid micro.
yeah, and we also don't get
This
paid
is
at
our
all.
volunteer time.
So, but I just think that at the end of the day, we need to change something. That's basically what I'm saying. We need to change something. It's not working. It's not working the way it should. I'm not saying it's not working fully, but we gotta change some stuff. So. That's it.
We've touched on most of the things. I'm just gonna go back to the concert a little bit, since that's what my main involvement was. I talked about the fencing. Next year, if we are gonna have 3 trailers, we need to make sure, like the one that Cass had was not big enough for her group. So that was kind of, she had to sit outside, so I think we need to watch what we're gonna do, but who knows if we're gonna have somebody that's just flying in versus they're gonna have their tour bus. I do have some current concerns. What were our numbers for the day? What were our attendance? Attendance
So-
overall, because I was kind of confused on that email.
So I don't have it broken out per day. here,
Okay.
but the gate admission for the entire week was 4,617 individual gates,
How much?
4,617. And there
So
was,
we're down.
For the whole fair?
That doesn't count
so,
people coming in with concert tickets though.
yeah, it's 4,617 gate admissions where somebody paid $10 to get in. 181 season passes, which could be assumed as times 5, because they came every day.
Sure.
Then there was. Yeah, the concert tickets were like 1,200, but there was like 200 comps. So 1,000, add 1,000 people to that for Friday, because they got admission with the concert ticket. And then, the 280 that we had for the Selena tribute,
And then VIP also, right?
and then 615 VIP tickets issued.
Do you know when they were scanning the 4H bracelets, what was that?
So I haven't looked, he sent the reports, I haven't looked closely at those reports yet. He sent me that stuff at the beginning of
Yeah.
last week, and we've been working on
Yeah.
everything else, but that's where, it's still pretty early. I think we have this idea on trying to figure out how to count that better. How well did that work this year? I don't know. I know a lot of people.
It depended on
Didn't
which
want-
security guard was at the gate.
There's that, and especially the first day started off, they were having some technology issues early on and trying to get, so it was probably 11:30 before they got everything working right at both of the gates.
I guess I just wonder, like, when they're scanning them, if like they leave and come back, is that counting multiple
So,
times?
no,
Or-
and I think Mike talked about this at
Yeah.
the meeting, like they wouldn't say, the guards wouldn't say anything, but it would be red. It'd be like already scanned this day.
Yeah,
but
so
they
it
would
wasn't
just let the
double
person
scanning
know.
it. See, that was what was like.
They would only be sent to actually read once per day. So that's something definitely to work on. I think also, we didn't have those gates manned until the fair started, well, until 10. And there was definitely, you saw it, people were commenting on it. If you show up before 10, you can just get in.
Oh, really? Cause there was always one.
There was
down
one
there.
down there.
There, but
Oh,
at
here.
the gates.
I couldn't get in one day because her son didn't have his green wristband on.
I couldn't get in because I didn't have my
They went past.
my gate 1 pass, but I had a fair board shirt and a fair board pass. But I wasn't allowed in.
Like sitting at the
Other
gate,
folks
adding
got
stuff
in,
in
and
there,
I wouldn't say it was perfect, but I think what we had happening up here as far as vehicles was definitely manageable, and it didn't turn into a total cluster.
It did not.
Except for maybe during the Rascal Rodeo when all of those horse trailers
That's-
were up
That's to be
there.
expected
That's-
though.
yeah.
I did get approached the first open day. I don't know what communication 4-H had put out for the parking pass or the pass speed pass situation or whatever.
Mhm.
But the first day I wore my fair board member thing, I got somebody straight up coming to me complaining that they had this and that. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what they decided on. I have no idea. And maybe I should have opened up my 4-H newsletters or something, but, I was like, woo, good. I'm like, this is a 4-H issue. There's 4-H on my QR code right here. But I probably should have educated myself a little more on what came about that, and I didn't.
It sounded like once that first day was kind of over,
It got-
there
it
were
was fine.
conversations, there weren't as many issues. but
Yeah,
It is hard when they have passes to come basically drop feed and clean stalls and whatnot, but yes, an older kid can get in and out and that's great, but when you have an adult that's here and I think this is the same kind of scenario
Mhm.
I had happen, but a parent comes up to bring their kid so that they can get all the stuff that they need done. They're not gonna just leave that kid because they're gonna need some assistance, they're gonna need some guidance and whatnot.
oh, yeah.
It's not just a teenager coming up and dropping food off and leaving, so that 15-minute pass.
That's what it
hard
was.
for
It was 15 minutes and I didn't know that it was a 15 minutes. Originally, yeah.
Yeah, so
I
that
think
was
was
I think
hard.
the only issue.
Yeah. But again, like
It's basically just a drop off, not the clean pans or anything like that.
Yeah.
but
But it's hard for when a parent has kiddos and they're not camping here and they're not gonna come up here, do that, leave, go all the way home, and then not like that time frame just didn't quite work
I think
for the
the-
parents with kids.
I think the idea was though that you came up, dropped off and then went out
Yeah.
and then
in
walk
the
back
general
over.
parking.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah,
instead
that
of
was-
parking up here from
Well,
from 7 a.m. until 10, and
That's
that's
not enough
fighting
time.
everybody's parking.
well, the problem was is they were coming up, they were with their kids, they were allowing the kids to feed and clean stalls, and then they were taking them back to be able to go shower and do all of that after the fact, because they're younger, they
Yeah,
can't.
that wasn't
There's
for
gonna
that.
be
Yeah.
those
That wasn't for that,
gray
though.
areas.
Yeah.
So I was anticipating there being a pushback and an uproar.
It
over
wasn't
that
bad
whole
after
thing.
the Yeah, it wasn't
I didn't hear a single word
Oh,
about it,
no.
so.
I did.
I think you're right. I think people came up like, whoa, this isn't what I expected. But
Yeah,
after,
then I
they-
think
It's like new
first-
after they
parents.
adjusted to it, I think
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's fine.
for us, it worked a lot better.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it was
Trying to
beautiful up
scramble,
here.
finding out who's parking where.
Yeah.
There
No, I
were-
think it was great.
There were some people that needed a gate one pass that didn't have one, and security was like Kelly didn't have one. He's gotta come in if he.
Oh, I could
They
see
did, yeah, they did,
flying off the handle.
because Kelly does too a lot.
So, we, those folks got sorted out, I think, really, I didn't hear. Any complaints about parking access? There was a little confusion about where handicap parking for some stuff, so we could do some more signage, but. I think there was empty handicap spots almost every single time I looked. Up here, they got full occasionally, and there were some issues early on where people without passes were parking in the spots. Then we got a sign in front of every single stall, and I think that helped some.
Yeah.
And people understood. I feel like that was a big success, that we had an issue last year that we were able to work on and
Yeah,
we
absolutely.
solved that problem, and people, I was expecting the parking traffic. Issue the entire time, and I don't think I heard it at all.
Yeah.
The entire time.
Just a couple other concerns is that next year, I don't know how many times we have to say it, but we have to have more garbage cans. I am like, until, like, I beat somebody in the head, we have to have more garbage cans. Cause even we were looking for garbage cans, and then we did have some red garbage cans, but the garbage sacks didn't fit the garbage cans. You couldn't use the garbage sack. I remember we were trying and we're like, oh my gosh, so we have to invest in garbage cans.
That's a good idea.
We have to invest in more
And it
garbage.
should be common sense too, that whoever sets up the hand washing stations, like there needs to be a garbage can there.
Right?
Because I
Yeah.
can't tell you how many times I
We're
had to go find a
scooping
garbage
up
can
and-
and I had to.
Out of the.
Yeah.
Yes,
People,
yes.
I know it occurred to me after I saw them after like a day, and I was like, there's no garbage can by that. And
Oh,
so then I had to go find one and take it and put it.
It happened
there.
multiple times throughout the week.
You probably need like.
Like they were
garbage
grabbing the
So,
garbage cans.
Deschutes County has got, when we were up there, they've got 50-gallon drums.
That's
That's
cool.
their garbage cans, and
I
they
like-
all have sleeves over them with sponsors.
Well, that's a
Right,
good
so a
idea.
business pays whatever amount that, I'm sure it's more to Deschutes County, because
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's a fancy facility, but each business pays however much to have a little sleeve with their business logo over the trash can. And so, but they're using 55-gallon drums. They aren't using fancy trash cans. They're just using,
I like the
There's
drum.
steel
I like the
thing.
drum thing.
That's a
Yeah.
good idea.
Not harder to see.
and so.
Yes.
We've
And
still
move
got
around.
all those plastic ones out there that can be cut and used for that. They might have to be cut a little lower because they taper at the top.
Mhm.
I had those guys cut those and they taper at the top. I'm like, ooh, that's gonna suck to get garbage out of it later. But I don't think it has to be an expensive option. I think
Yeah.
We've got the totes to do it with. We just need to figure out something for a sleeve and sponsors.
We just
Just a
definitely,
Revenue producer right
It
there.
felt like the hunt for.
garbage cans
all
was,
week.
yeah, it was.
And then you find like 3 of them all together.
Yeah.
There's too many together. We need.
What else you got?
So we definitely need that, and just making sure that the grounds are cleaned, I mean, before the event and right after the event, because like you said, as soon as we get done with fair, we're going right into another one, so making sure that hopefully we can get enough teams here so that it is, even if they have to come in the week before fair to get and help and get this ready to go and groomed and clean, and then the week after, so that way, because we are busy, we have stuff going on nonstop in this.
You can explore
That's
working
one
with,
action item.
it's like, I think this is called.
Yeah.
See if you can get a little bit different service from them.
I think not only just like the cleanliness, but just just like picture of it. I mean, yeah, we
Like-
need to pressure wash those bathrooms probably, but like you said, just like
Curb
flowers,
appeal, curb appeal,
yeah,
This
just
is
the
a venue
appearance.
and if people pay for a venue, they pay for curb appeal as well.
100%. That's, I think, the main reason why CMH didn't want to do their event in there, because they walk in that room and look up.
I'm not as
Yeah.
worried about there as I am outside at
That's
this
a-
point.
just when you walk- yeah.
I mean, that's an arena, yeah. I mean, I know we have work to do there too, but I think, anyway, that part of my action, that will be like, I think we need to walk through and just make a list.
Yeah. I think that's it. And then I was just worried because our numbers are down and worried about vendors coming back and like, it will be nice to get that vendor questionnaire out because I have had some concerns about some vendors might not coming back next year because their numbers were down. So that.
And we
really
can't
scares
afford
me.
that because we already have other vendors that won't come.
All of
Yes, and that
the,
scares me.
all of the food vendors except one are up from last year.
Okay.
The only one that was down was Twisted Ice.
How much I would like to see the comparisons from 23 to 24. We don't need it right now,
Yeah,
but I
there's
would love to
still
see
some
like
of
to
those,
see them.
So it's not, this is something that Kristen's been working on putting together. There's still a few holes, we need some more data in here and don't necessarily want to put this information out in public.
Yeah.
Yeah, we
Well,
don't
I
need
get
it.
that because
We
as a
just-
business owner, I
Yeah.
would not want
Yeah.
everybody
Yeah.
knowing that. But
But I can tell
but
you, all of the food vendors were pretty stoked. The commercial vendors are the ones that are bummed out because the foot traffic is just so low. They're not getting the exposure that they're looking for.
there was just a few that they said they were down when I had spoken to them.
Yeah, they're all up except Twisted Ice. The Dippin' Dots guy, they haven't been here since 2021. They were down from what they did in 2021. There were some comments that we did have a lot of like sweets and treats. So I'm not sure which out of those we would.
So that was that van, right? The van down here on the end, the Twisted Ice.
Van is,
Yeah.
yeah, it was over here.
That was
Twisted
there,
Ice.
yeah.
Yeah.
It was nice.
And,
So-
she looked closed most of the time.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was
Yeah.
gonna say. So
How
she
she
might have been down, but I wouldn't have, I didn't even know what the heck that was until Wednesday.
I never saw
Like
that.
blue bus, you mean?
Yeah, the
Yeah.
blue bus.
That's how it was last year. You had to like go inside and say,
Nope.
hey, are you
I'm not
open?
walking
Yeah,
on
I
this
literally-
random bus.
I literally didn't know what that was until like Wednesday or Thursday. And it was only because I was walking with April and she was like
What is
telling me
that?
about, yeah, like, what is that? So anyway,
Yeah, they're all up by 42%, 59%, 32%, 46%, 50%, 82%, 37%. So they all had increases in their sales over 2023. And then we had Marcelli's Thai food, they canceled on that Sunday, so
Yeah.
that dropped 2 booths. And then Trace Bros canceled on July 2nd, so less than a month prior to the fair. So if we would have had those other 3, I think the real concern wasn't necessarily from the food vendors about how much food there was, it was more fair goers about the variety of food that was available to them.
yeah.
So I will say that I talking to a few of the vendors, I think if we were to look at their sales day by day, I think they had a huge increase on Friday for the concert because our concert numbers were up prior to last year's concert. I
Yeah.
think that's a big part of their.
We have their daily numbers also.
Yeah, and so I gave that comparison, because when I was talking to them, that was what they had mentioned a lot of, was that Friday concert really bumped them up, which going back to that also, we need to figure out a Wi-Fi system.
Oh,
the
my
Wi-Fi
Lord.
award, because that is
Sorry, we got a lot of.
one other
complaints.
reason, yeah, that is one other reason that they're not gonna come back.
So I had a conversation with IT halfway through the weeks if they could watch and see if there were a bunch of people connected. You know, because they could see which
Yeah.
websites are being connected to
Yeah.
at any given time. The administrator was on vacation that week, so it was a lower level guy, and I didn't hear back from him. But there's also, you know, when I talked to him about it after the fair, he got back, and said that some of our devices are getting pretty old. So we should look at
Probably.
updating some of these
Well, I know,
access points
Mhm.
and seeing if they can get more throughput. It says it's not our internet connection, because we pay $1,200 a month for internet. We have incredible internet speed here. But if these devices are bottlenecking.
Is there a way to do a separate, I mean, do we have a separate vendor?
There is.
but
It's still.
But
there's too many people to know the vendor password.
So we need to
Just gonna
change the
say.
password.
Well, and I
Then we need, yeah.
I'm not even gonna.
They do.
I do believe that a lot of the security people, when they were sitting on their board, were, watching some Netflix and chilling. So I'm just saying, I mean, if they had the vendor, no, okay. I don't know, but I mean, and I don't blame them, because I'd probably do the same if I was sitting on
But
their board.
it was
but-
hard because when we're doing the merch tent, and I'll tell you what, because as soon as everybody knew they could see Joe if they bought so much merch, that merch tent was packed and you could, the service on
the iPad was like, and then his manager's like, hey, what? And I'm like, don't know what to tell you. That's because everybody's on it. And then I couldn't even go live on my phone because I couldn't even get online. Because it was so packed with people, everybody on it, so.
We had some discussion and they can give me access so that I can watch it in real time during event and see, like, is there a bunch of people on YouTube? And can we bump those IP
Bump 'em,
addresses
yeah.
in real time? And see if that helps, but if it's a hardware issue, that's the.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, then we.
We have some conversation going on.
Okay, yeah, then we definitely, I know I have more, but.
I just had a few things. I wanted to thank the staff. I know you guys worked super hard, kind of rebuilding this thing from the ground up. Kristen, I know you worked super hard getting Event and E like up and around. I don't even know what all you had to do that, but I know you probably worked your butt off this year, and I'm sure that's going to pay dividends from now moving forward. So I just want to say thank you for that. And Kyle, and what was our seasonal help name?
Pedro
Worked really hard.
and Pedro's still here also.
Yeah, I would really be cool if we used to have a hired hand and a part-time. I know right now probably isn't the best time to do that, but moving forward, it'd be really nice if we could get that hired hand and a part-time so we can have the flower garden and those type of things that make this place look a little nicer. I just recognize how hard you guys worked. I know it's a grind for about a month and a half. And so I just really appreciate it. And then rolling right into everything that you guys have coming up also.
Right.
And so I just want to say thank you for that. I want to recognize Tony Beaumont, for how hard him and his family work for this fair. I've got 4 kids, 4 daughters, so I can get a little emotional if I want to. But there's a lot around here that just wouldn't happen if it wasn't for their family. And it takes a family to support one person doing a lot of work. And so I wanted to recognize him and his family for that. The 4-H kids, I don't have all their names, but they all got 4-H or concert tickets Friday morning for coming up and saving our bacon for setting up all the panels and stuff. And then Titus Cano had a great idea on Sunday morning about not cleaning all the pens, things we're taking everything down and just pulling panels and stacking them and then using the skid steer to scrape everything. And that was a game changer. We were done in that barn by like 10:20 or something.
I've never been home so early on
I know.
Sunday.
And so I wanted to give him a little bump here because that was really appreciative and it's just, it just goes to show you that if we just shut up and listen to the youth, they have good ideas.
They do.
Not all the time. Sometimes there's a golden ticket in there and we need to listen to that.
Oh, yeah.
And so, I just wanted to recognize him for that. So thank you for raising a good son.
Yeah.
And Kelly was thrilled on Monday morning how clean. it
Yeah,
was. So
yeah,
I
that's
talked to
good.
him and he's like, this is perfect. I can easily clean this up.
That's good.
Can I add one thing to that?
Yeah.
So I was out here, we just need to pay attention with which way we stack the metal deals on the pallet.
Yeah.
So you get the pork.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
absolutely.
a couple
Yeah.
times. I'm like, oh, we gotta move all these aren't right. And I can go pick them up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Move them all.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was awesome.
And real quick, on that too, is Matthew Cano again, saving the day at lighting for the concert. He loves being on that spotlight. He loves it, and I'm so thankful that he's there and he helped. If it wasn't for Matt, Tony, Matt and Kelly, there's no way that concert would have gone as fast, especially with our help, but they are our core that know what we're doing.
Yeah.
And stuff. And so I'm grateful for them that I have them. But Matthew, he's like so nice to have him. He jumps right up there and he's spot on up there the whole time, the whole concert. And he does his job and he knows what he's doing. And it's so nice. to have him. So thank you, Conos.
All right, moving down into the manager's report.
Yeah, cleared over, so now we're ready to move on. We have a lot of these projects, which I sense that Sarah's gonna be bringing up as well. I do, want to point that, there's all these things that we have that we need to work on, but there's a lot of other accomplishments that we're getting done. We're busy every day. for 40 hours a week, knocking out stuff. And so taking time, I know I don't have a list or a report to do on, the last 12 months or the last 18 months, but the list of accomplishments that we've gotten done is pretty long. So, next steps for us, definitely getting these MOUs completed is one of my top priorities because I want to have. I know the OSU one is relatively easy. We just need to complete it. The other ones, there's some negotiations and discussions that need to be had, and so we gotta figure out what we want that to be, but we need a draft to be working off of. So that's a priority. Getting this roof, that's, we have to spend this money. I think we're making a big step now by getting this contractor, on board to start working towards the bid documents. Once we get the bid done, roll in the spring and start working on the project. I don't know what that will look like as far as how they're actually going to accomplish a roof project, but we don't even really know what the repair is at this point.
Yeah.
If they gotta tear the whole roof off to repair it, I don't know what that means for our event schedule. And, just getting it done and how much it's gonna cost. The land use one, I think we're in a good spot for that now that, we know what we need to do, and now we can pick that up and get this public comment piece rolling so that we can get those conditions changed. We can hopefully start doing motorsport events outdoor and have that be a big part of our fair moving forward. We desperately need to update our contract, our contract. It's confusing for us as staff. I can only imagine how confusing it is for the average renter that wants to come in and pick it up and go. So it takes a lot of hand holding to get them through our contract for every single person. So we definitely want to get that tightened up so that it's easier for our renters to know what they need to do and be able to rent and understand all of the requirements and check in and check out and insurance and the camping and the fees and the commission on alcohol and all of that stuff, and commission on catering and getting that clear. We've been talking about rates. I think that's one of the biggest indicators that we'll have as far as what we're doing is right and appropriate, figuring out how much other facilities are charging for the similar services. Doesn't mean we have to charge what they're charging, but it's definitely gonna be good information for you guys as board and us as, And then this email marketing, I think it mixed feelings a little bit about getting additional emails, but trying to find ways to actually get our events and our information out in front of the public. I think that's got to be a method that is being used heavily in the industry to spread the word about their events and concerts.
Yeah.
But not having it be garbage, something that's useful. Like, is it a newsletter that talks
A
about?
newsletter I would go for.
That talks about what is
But
happening
everything
at the
else I just
fairgrounds
don't.
over the quarter. Maybe there's some classifieds or something in it for Clatsop County classifieds. Then having that inventory to say, hey, we're doing a bull riding event. It's on this date.
Yeah.
That's really all the message is. Bull riding at the fairgrounds, November 10th.
Just make sure they're not every day.
Yeah, I would imagine quarterly or when.
I did end up walking some local people because I was getting them daily and that's
Yeah,
much.
I agree with you. No, it's gotta be something that. It's gonna take years to build an inventory of email addresses also. You can't just buy them from somewhere. You've got to get people to buy tickets for your events or fill out a survey and provide their email address or something. But those are ideas with the survey. Say, fill out the survey and get your name entered into a raffle to win the ticket to a future event or something like that. Yeah. So those are where we're moving forward onto. Just trying to get through summer, get through that first part of September. We'll hit school. When the first day of school starts, things will slow down for 2 weeks or so. Then there's several events through October, early November, but then we hit Thanksgiving, and then it's gonna be slow until spring.
Okay. Moving into our business agenda. So we're gonna start with the building assessment contractor selection. Do we feel comfortable that we can make that?
Yes.
And, I was still reviewing this stuff when I had made the agenda item. Ideally, there'd be something on there that says, proceed with intent to award the assessment contract to Service. That's what we're doing.
Okay, we're gonna need a motion to approve.
I make-
Your,
I make a motion to approve CERTA
An intent to award.
intent to award to CERTA the,
Sorry, I could have made it easier. What does it say?
for the roof something or another.
building assessment contractor selection.
That's what he said.
I second it.
Wait, where did it go?
Okay,
Again, it just kind of ran out of time, but knew we needed to keep the ball
Okay.
rolling on this one.
all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. We need to get rid of the surplus corn. How much corn do we have?
Well,
Yes,
we bought a ton. So whatever we lost from that, there's 3 garbage can fulls and then there's probably 8 feed bags that were filled back up and
okay,
stapled shut. So just if you guys could declare it surplus, what my intention would be is to find somebody to donate this to that's a nonprofit or something. My initial goal idea is the Spruce Up Fall Festival. If they could use it for their event, I
There you
think
go.
would be
Yeah.
ideal. But short from that, we could put something out there. It just has to be public that everybody has an opportunity. We
what
can,
about the wildlife place out on 202? Would they use corn for?
probably not if it's GMO.
Oh, touche.
no clue. But one of the things I want to make sure is that there's no,
Boys.
no perception that we've just given,
Yeah,
picked the
Yeah.
winner and we've given this.
Right.
Yeah.
If we're either making a public deal or we're just disposing of it or we're donating it. If you just declare it surplus and say either donate it or auction it off, we'll go with whatever we do.
Good. All right, we need a motion. We just have to declare it a surplus.
Okay, good.
I make motion to do a surplus of the corn pit corn.
I second.
I think we need to discuss that a little more. We need to be specific with what we're gonna do with it.
So the requested action on it said declare corn surplus and explore donation or auction.
Why don't they have that page?
I would like to donate it,
We want donated.
donate it,
Mm-hmm.
not auction it off.
Mm-mm.
It needs to be a donation of some sort. I like it going to the fall festival, like even in Warrenton, because they help bring some of those carnival games to us, so maybe they could use it. And we donate to them since they did provide that for us.
Yeah.
If they would use it,
Yeah,
donate it to that program.
Okay, can I get a second on the changed motion?
I second.
Okay, all in favor?
I,
Any opposed? Okay,
yeah.
now moving on to
Oh geez, now I've lost my Google.
the M2 items that Sarah wanted to add, the MOUs.
Yes,
Um,
go for it.
what were you looking at specifically for that, Sarah?
I would like to put a timeline on our MOU completion and offer a second route if we cannot complete by the said timeline.
What were you thinking for timeline?
Can you please, Kyle, tell me what all MOUs we have to complete?
So really, it's just the FFA and the
OSU.
OSU.
Okay,
And then the association MOU expires on January 31st. And we've already started discussions about how we're going to
okay.
deal with those.
So I'm just gonna make this about OSU and FFA today. I would like to see us have MOUs in place by 9:30. And as an option, if that cannot happen, that we hire a lawyer to complete the MOUs for us at that time. If it can't happen in-house.
So you want to make a motion for that?
I would like to make a motion to have completion of the OSU and FFA MOUs dated as 9:30, and if we cannot do that in-house by 9:30, we will hire a lawyer to complete the MOUs for us.
I second that.
All in favor?
I,
None opposed? Okay, motion carries. So we need to make sure we get that ball rolling, Kyle. Should the FFA and OSU, what do you need from us to make that happen?
So the OSU one, really all we have to do is pull out all of the association stuff that's been put into it, and send it over and it should be done. I mean, maybe update the dates. Because now it's been a while.
Yeah,
That's pretty easy. I think it would be great to have some acknowledgement on what we're actually offering as far as our monetary value, but I don't think it's critical. But it would be nice to be able to say like, Fairgrounds is providing this. If you were to rent all of these facilities, providing to you, this is what it would cost. I'm not saying we're charging.
yeah,
Just to have that be part of the story. Not key critical for OSU's purposes. The FFA one. There just needs to really be some discussion on what their responsibilities are and what our responsibilities are.
I've never seen, I don't think I've seen the FFA one that was prior put in place. Can we see that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it basically just says they get the day for a banquet and then a day for a CTE event, and that they help with the Hogwaters. I think it says that they'll do like admissions or something for a particular event
I know that
that we
they
don't do anymore.
had wanted to add an event to that. I reviewed, I was looking for something specific in our minutes from the last year today. And I saw a point where it had been mentioned by a board member that they had wanted to add one more event to that. So I think that's important that we find out what that is. And also we need to all be on board with the fact that we need to commit a date in here for them next year.
Yeah, they have a date for, I think it's.
We can't bump them.
no, we cannot.
Can't remember. It's before Prep Fest.
Okay. Okay.
so we can help you get that done. Can you send that information out this week?
Yeah.
Get us the MOUs so we can make any comments, adjustments, communicate on that. And then next fair board meeting, we should be able to review that a little bit. Because of course, you're gonna have to go through the advisors and OSU and everything too. But the idea is that the ball is rolling and in process by the date that was set. So, okay.
And then, separate from that, if there's, said the association MOU is the next step. I think the agreement with the logo needs to be revised. It's not really an MOU, but it's not really
The what?
the airplane club.
Oh, yes, yeah.
It's not really a great agreement either. It's really doesn't say much.
Well, if it doesn't say much, then it is not an agreement.
It
So,
basically says they can use that property for $500 a year.
so
That's
can
what
we
it
put
says.
for a work session item, let's talk about the airplane thing. Sorry, I don't know what it's called. The 4-H Association MOU, and let's discuss with auction committee if we want to do an MOU together too. It's never been brought up or talked about, so I think that's something we probably should do as well.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Okay.
If we had those, I think that pretty much covers all of the parties that we work with.
Yeah.
We could do something with Wes. That's kind of a different thing, but
He's
that's
a-
been pretty easy.
Yeah,
to go.
very easy.
It just helps to have clear expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, I have one more.
Okay, you've got one more?
Okay, my next motion, I guess, is I believe that we need some written cleaning protocols for the grounds and buildings before and after events. I think we need an actual protocol that is written down that states either we hire somebody in to come do a full cleaning after an event or before event, or if it's maybe levels of events, like if it's 50 people and under, it can be done in-house and like with an item checklist. I just think we need a written plan for that. And however we need to make it happen, let's make it happen. That's my motion.
I think that would help too, like with the language barrier too, being able to have it in both
Writing,
English
yeah,
and Spanish.
Yeah.
Writing.
being able to just hand it over and say, these are the things that need to be done. And I would also like to add to my motion that I would like to.
What's
not a motion
And
at
I
this
guess.
point.
It's a social recommendation, that I would like to also kind of have this on a timeline as well. And I'm shooting, well, originally I was gonna shoot, it's not probably very nice of me to tell you that date, so I'll go for 9:30 as well. But yes, sorry.
So you're looking for things for the fairgrounds to have ready for prior to an event or for a group?
We need to have protocols of what we as the fairgrounds are going to do in between large events or even smaller ones, like to double check off, because as a venue, if we have somebody coming in and we just depend on the people prior to it without doing our due diligence and looking, we're gonna end up with bathrooms with peak slime all over the walls.
Yeah.
And so
This leads to, this has been some discussions I've had with other fairgrounds about how that happens. Like, it's one thing for one event that comes in for the weekend and, one group was here, checked out on Friday, checked out on Monday. But when you have a group on Friday, you have a group on Saturday, dealing with that swap over. So there's definitely a piece where.
I realize that is probably an issue, but it is still our issue.
And I think the other thing that we really need to add, and that's part of the contract and the rate update, is we don't have a deposit requirement for these groups. And so because we do have cleaning instructions and requirements for them now. But if they don't do it, there's no deposit that we've ever charged to people to.
But like for us, like coming into fair, like I would have been so embarrassed if our bathrooms, and I already was, because on Tuesday, they were still crappy for the public to come in, but to come in on Monday night and go in there and I was like, oh my gosh, we're open to the public tomorrow. There's no way. So like that kind of stuff. I mean, we don't have clean bathrooms. We have to have the toilet paper. I don't know how many toilet paper rolls I filled. And I mean, I even had to, I'm like, go get gloves. And I took all the tampon boxes were completely full and I took all those out. You know what I mean? That stuff has to be done before we can open to the public. And it has to be done every day. It has to be clean. Because it was, and I did refuse to do the urinals. I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
And I know there was an event in here too in February, with the beef weigh-in, and it was not acceptable at all. For
So-
what we're renting. I mean,
So-
that's.
So if we have that protocol and that we need to have that done and that checklist, then we can make sure that it's done.
And whether it's something that we need to move some of our budget money around for, if we hire out or whatever we need to do, we need to make sure that our venue. If people are paying to be here, they should get what they're paying for.
Well, during an event, they're required to clean after.
I don't care about during, I mean, coming
After,
into
yeah,
an
but they're
event.
coming, we're talking about coming in, like,
Yeah.
the company that had a, company party in February, like, they came in and it was not acceptable. I mean, us coming into fair, it was rough, like.
I just think we need a plan.
So can I make a suggestion here?
Yes.
Because right now, we really don't have anything to work off of. Can we have the staff set up a draft
Yes.
of
Yeah.
things that need to be cleaned and then vote on that?
Yep.
Next.
Yeah, can we
Next
see the
February.
draft ahead of time?
Yeah.
Yeah, let's
that's-
work on that.
So maybe you guys could develop a draft for us of things that need to be done need to be checked off prior to any event happening here.
Mhm.
And
Oh.
even like without recreating the wheel, like reaching out to maybe, the
Jennifer?
different.
Beaumont.
Yeah,
Or
I-
Jennifer with the
Yeah, with the
commission,
different
or,
fairs or
yeah,
whatever, too.
they might, yeah. Convention center, that's it.
I know Kelly puts a lot of pride in keeping those bathrooms clean and trying to be prepared when events come in. That's the Monday of the fair, that's kind of, and then normally there's so much happening for us that day also.
Well, I know that's why it would have been nice if teams would have started that day, because they could have been in there cleaning
even
the
a
bathroom.
couple days
instead of
That's an easy
Kelly and
fix
I.
for next year. for you.
Yeah.
But they are in need of an overhaul. I mean,
They
like
need
a
to be
pressure wash
and paint the walls.
Yeah.
If there was something that happened with another event earlier on, that would be an anomaly, because normally he's on top of those bathrooms.
Well, I think the thing is there was beef weigh-in
Yeah.
during all.
regardless of what, it doesn't matter. it doesn't matter what happened or what pride it, I mean, I appreciate Kelly very much, but I just still, at the end of the day, before events come in, we need a protocol.
And this is a
That's
lot
it.
of space and he can't do it all. So.
Oh,
we
it
need
is
to-
a big area.
So, I mean, I adore Kelly and I think he works his butt off. So
I do
I'm not,
too.
that is
Mhm.
nothing.
Yeah, I just
Against
think
him.
we just need to, this is what we want to see
Yeah.
and this is what we should do.
And I don't think it's going towards anyone. It's just,
Yeah.
we want to have higher standards.
Yeah.
For what we're giving.
Yeah.
We really need a full blown plan. There's no preventive maintenance program for the entire property. That's, I mean, it's a big undertaking to do and it's lower on the priorities than the 5 things that I said for next steps. But all the way from the air handlers to the water tanks to the kitchen items, like they all need to be put onto a maintenance schedule. They didn't exist when I started and I haven't made much progress on developing it since I've been here.
Yeah. Yeah,
It needs to be done.
you could put in there, like, in that draft annually, whether it be biannually or annually, like, place gets bleached and pressure washed, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all concrete.
Yeah, exactly. And there's lots of drains.
Drains, yeah.
So,
Give me a
You've
pressure
got
wash,
to-
I'll do
I
it.
know, pressure washing my favorite thing too.
We have to jet
I
the
do
sewer
leak.
lines prior to every major event. We did get that wall pressure washed before the fair. There was like old growing on it on the face of the arena.
oh, yeah.
Terrible. And then we got half of it pressure washed a couple months ago. And so like the bottom was done, but the top wasn't. There's things we see too, it's just taking time to get
Yeah.
everything done.
I mean, and that's one thing, like when my inspectors come in, they tell me, they go, take a step back, don't stand behind counter, stand in front of counter and look at what your customers see. And that's what you need to clean. So when you walk in the bathroom, you look and you go, what is the public looking at?
Right.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
what needs to be cleaned. Not what I know, but like you take a step outside and you look at what they're seeing,
Yeah.
and that's what you need to focus on.
Okay. We're okay with holding off on that?
Yeah, as long as we do get this going.
Yes.
Okay. That's perfect. Okay, fine.
Okay, financial report?
Yeah, so this is the final through June. It hasn't been audited yet, but this is the full year.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm not gonna even with my glasses.
I can read it.
Well, that's nice. Yeah, no, I can't read that. Can't see it. I have trifocals and I can't
I
see
didn't
it.
bring my glasses.
So we budgeted for 1.24 million in revenue. We received 1.14 million in revenue. That's 92% of what we budgeted for. I think a big portion of that is we had anticipated receiving the full $277,000 from Business Oregon, but we only pulled 55,000 from that because we had to move forward with the project enough yet for them to give us another disbursement.
Yeah.
We look at, let's see, concert revenue, we budgeted 95, we pulled in 91. Tickets, we budgeted 40K in revenue, we pulled in 56, but that includes the concert that we added, so it was 41,000 for ticket revenue for the fair, and then looks like we've got some money in March and April for ticket fees. I think some of that was from
Scandinavian festival.
events
right?
like it must have been, no, because we just got paid for Scandinavian
When did we have the concert?
and
Oh, yeah.
it was in April, yeah, so that.
The
So it was
concert
that
out
other
here.
concert, yeah,
Oh, and
the
then this
tribute.
Mackie one,
Fleet-
yeah.
Fleetwood Mac one is what that's from.
This June would have been dollars received for this county fair early. Other revenue, 236,000 budgeted, we received 238,000. Interest, we budgeted 16K in interest and we received 48K in interest, so. That's doing pretty well.
Yeah, that's good.
Timber revenue budgeted 75,000, we received 112,000.
Everybody's logging while they can.
Right.
Mhm.
And so on expenses, we had budgeted 1.55 million in expenses and we spent 978. And there's a lot of lines there. I'd have to dig through them a little bit more on what the difference was. But, you know, that's budgeting off of 2 years old numbers. So we're under budget.
Roughly 600 grand.
It's
under.
is the main point.
But you'd rather be under budget than over budget, so that's good.
And, you know, at some point, we'll get the audited report and then I'll send that.
Okay.
As well.
Can I ask a question? Can you also email us, the best you can? I know that like 2022, probably there's not a lot of tracking on it, but the admission counts for 2022, 2023, and this year.
I can try to find what I can.
That would be great. Just
The-
anything you can find,
The
please.
best number that you'll see, and it's not gonna tell you a particular number of people. But looking at that ticket fees line in the budget each year, just like last year we received 41,000, this year it'll be 46.
I want to see it. I don't want to see the concert as much as I want to see admissions.
Yeah,
Just
and
so,
that line is separate.
okay, good.
That line.
But I
is-
would like to see,
So last
Head
year, you know, as far as admissions, we had volunteers, and every year prior that we had volunteers, but what we got was clicks from security guard at the gate, so.
yep, I know it's
How
not
I-
perfect. I just want to kind of get an idea of what we're looking at.
So last year they clicked 6,390 attendance.
And that was just gate entries, right?
That was at the gates, yeah, for the
Okay.
security. I don't know if that included the 4-H gate. Or the campground gate.
Okay. If you can find something on 2022, I know that year was kind of hectic and I don't know that if that's even a feasible thing, but.
Yeah, Jason did have some numbers that I saw.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Anything for the good of the order?
No, I don't have anything.
We covered a lot of ground. I do not recall the things I said I was gonna send you right now.
I kind of started to write a list that
I just, two things, when we were talking about camping and stuff, and I know brought this up last year, is seeing about if our insurance would cover horses, because we do have people that want to camp here and be able to have a stall, put their horse in, and I know that when we've been asked in the past to have a horse come board here, our insurance, we don't have it covered on our insurance, to see if there's a way to do that, because I think that is something that, you know, they do have to be responsible for bringing their own shavings, they have to clean it out or whatnot, but to be able to provide that service, I think would be huge.
So we do allow people to come and camp with their horses, but what we don't allow is people to bring them and leave them.
But the last time that I went through that with Monica, because we had a situation, I was told that our insurance wouldn't cover that. So I just want to double check that is, because we don't advertise it and we do get asked about that. And I think that's something that we could advertise, because people always want to come down and ride their horse on the beach. And there's not many places you can camp, bring your horse, and also be able to use the outdoor arena. I think that's something that to look into. And then it'll be nice to get these vendor surveys back, because how to try to start focusing on how to get vendors, you know, more vendors to come in and what we can do to keep the vendors that we do have.
Okay, I'm gonna write that down too. I'm sorry, that reminded me of something.
That's all I had.
Oh, good. Could we get the best list possible of vendors that we've had for the last 3 years at least? I think that's something that we need to really think about and think about it now. Is that possible?
We can dig through what we've seen, absolutely. We do have quite a bit that was, especially with the food vendors. I don't know necessarily how good of a list we have on retail vendors, but we do have a decent.
The food vendors are
the big
ones.
one, yeah.
I checked out maybe a third of these guys myself directly, because I was here on Sunday. And every single one of them that I checked out said what they need is a 4-day fair. That was basically across the board. They all said the 5th day is really hard for them.
Which would be Saturday?
Tuesday.
Oh, Tuesday.
So starting Wednesday.
And really, if we went to a 4-day fair, which there's quite a few people that are doing 4-day fairs these days. I think Tillamook's 4-day, aren't they?
I think the exception is 5-day fair.
Yeah, we would be able to take the budget that we have. I know this is a whole other can of worms we're opening here.
Right.
But we would be able to take the budget that we have, condense it down
20%.
a lot, yeah, whatever that percentage, yeah, 20, you know, basic math, that, right? And put that money into more quality items in the time that we do have. It wouldn't cut back on 4-H at all. It wouldn't affect them as
Except
far
for
as,
the show schedule would probably get harder and tighter.
no, we wouldn't, that wouldn't change at all. It
Well, yeah,
would,
because
They just wouldn't be charging for people to come to
they
the
just
fair.
push it and they'd show on Saturday too.
No, yeah, we would just leave Tuesday as it is.
yeah, we would just wouldn't change the 4-H schedule at all.
Oh, so that people just couldn't come see
No,
them?
they could come.
They just
There's
bring
no
vendors.
vendors.
that
That's,
wanna be
that's
here.
reading and market night for pigs. That's a big night.
Yeah,
Then they can come and watch
they can come and watch it. There'll be no food or anything.
Maybe the chicken coop will open
Chicken
up for
coop.
me, cause I get hungry
Yeah.
when it's whole bigger chicken coops.
I mean,
Anyway, it's just something to roll around. I
No,
think it-
totally.
I
We
think
can
it's
talk about
something
that.
they could make that pig roast and be a little bit more for the community.
Ooh, that would be a great idea.
So, and it wouldn't
Yeah.
hurt the vendors because
Also-
they wouldn't be operating.
Can we talk about possibly thinking about this, putting it on the radar? About allowing people just to come in for Thursday, Friday, Saturday, or Friday, Saturday, not the food vendors, but like mom and pop-ups.
That's something we can consider. It doesn't need to be black and white. There has to be some gray.
There does have
Yeah.
to be a little
There has
bit
to
of
be a
gray.
little.
I know we had a lot of vendors for my craft fairs who talked about wanting to be fair, but they could not do it by.
The full days.
It's
yeah.
hard as a business owner. I mean, for me, it's hard.
Enough just to do a 2-day event with.
And a lot of these
Yeah.
people are, they have other businesses,
Mm-hmm.
that it's not like they can just
Yeah.
stop everything
And
that
do
they're
things
doing.
Or they have
And-
day jobs.
Or they
Well,
have a
that's
day
what-
job.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
90% of small business owners do have either work for themselves or work for somebody else to raise their pigs.
And you could have an area where that's a pop-up area, you know? Yeah, that's something to think about.
Yeah.
Hey, Mallory, what do you have?
Nothing, that's it. You
Okay.
guys could-
Matt?
We're adjourned. Thank you
Thank
everybody for
you.
coming.